Hello and welcome, everybody. I am very, very excited. This is Crafty Fun with Friends, episode 33, and it's a first for us. We are going to learn all about junk journaling. And you're not going to learn it from me because I know next to nothing about it. You're going to learn all about the world of junk journaling from my guest today, who is the one and only Biddy Penny. Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you on the socials and all of that good stuff.
Sure. Hey, Lynn. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. We're going to have so much fun. And hello to everyone in the chat. I see Stamp Girls here, and Dawn, and Erica, and Jay, and my friend Vicky Ruda. There's so many friends. Ruder, welcome everyone.
Aww.
Hi, Nina. So, yeah, I'm Biddy Penny. I'm Biddy Penny everywhere on YouTube and Instagram, and I am just a paper crafter, heart and soul paper crafter. I started with card making, and then 6 months into card making, I found junk journaling, and I've kind of always been on the fence, but I would say more so for many years I was a card maker. And then I would just make journals for fun, but now I've been diversifying my channel more this past year and sharing both. So
Yay.
yeah, it's just a fun thing to do. And I feel like it's so funny because the worlds between them are quite different, but at the same time, we're all using mostly the same stuff. So it's like, it was just meant to be.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I was really happy to hear, because when I asked you, what do I need? You're like, we could use just about everything, so don't worry.
That's right. Just bring anything. Just make sure you have scissors and glue, and we're going to be off to the races. So, I wasn't sure today, like which direction we would go until a few minutes ago, but it looks like we're going to make something like this, you guys. So this is the type of journal that I make most often these days. I sell a lot of these like at craft fairs and stuff like that. I like it because I get to use my beautiful scrapbook paper, and then obviously all kinds of paper on the inside. I like it because I can take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and just fold it in half. So I think this is the size and kind of the style that we'll go for today. And I think we can make a great dent in it. We'll have it completely constructed. And, where we'll leave off is if you want more decorating, basically, making more ephemera and things like that. So if everybody wants to craft along with us, if you don't have a project on your desk already, all you need is some, like I said, like glue, some maybe a paper trimmer, some paper. You grab your scraps because you can make it any size. And you can use your scraps. So, Lynn, do you have scraps?
I have scraps. I do, but at hand, I might just use these because they are really pretty, and they have been sitting in my craft room for a while. Although we were doing like a pre-stream chat, Biddy Penny and I might not use one of these now that I know it's precious. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Before we start, though, welcome to everybody in the chat. Thanks for saying hello. I think I brought up most folks onto the screen as you were saying hello. Thank you for that. Before we get too deep underway, this being such a fun stream, how about we hit that share button and get more people into the stream so that they can learn about the world of junk journaling. And in particular, this is why this is a special treat, y'all, because Biddy Penny, and I saw Letty in the chat as well, and a third crafty friend of theirs, is it Debbie?
Yes.
They are putting on a workshop that is in person in December, but that's in person. So we're getting a little bit of a, for one, like kind of a freebie
Yes.
from Biddy Penny herself, who is not only instructing at this workshop, but she's coordinating it. She's putting it on herself and hosting it with Letty and Debbie. And so not only that, but it's virtual. So, if you can't make it in person to Texas, which if you're willing, if you're in the area, I think it's the Georgetown, Texas area. If
Mm-hmm.
you're in the area on December 2nd,
You got it. Yep.
um, right? Then, oh, I should have asked, is it sold out yet? Because I know last time I checked in, there was only like a couple few tickets left.
Yeah, there is just a couple. Letty's in the chat. So Letty, let us know how many tickets are left.
Okay.
Last time I checked, Letty and Debbie had just a couple left. So yeah, it's pretty limited. It is a very like small, intimate. It's in an art gallery. They have a classroom, and so we're going to have a max of 18 seats. But that's what's going to be beautiful, is that it's going to be small and intimate. We're going to have 3 different workshops that you get with that one price. And it's all paper crafting.
Yeah.
It's going to be mini albums, junk journals, and gift card holders 3 ways. Letty says 3 tickets left.
Yep. So if you are in the area or you'd like to travel to Texas, it's not going to be like scorching hot in December. So that's a plus.
No, it's 78 today.
So be on the lookout for that. Letty, feel free to share in the chat, how they find out about you. But if you go to, I'm sure if you go to Biddy Penny's YouTube channel, which I have a link to in the chat, you can find out how to register and all of that as well. And so this is a real special treat for us because, if you can't make it there in person, I know you talked about possibly organizing something virtual at some point, but here we are, we're virtual. And
that's right.
So folks, if you could like this stream and share it out, that would be wonderful. It really helps to get, your favorite content creator on any platform. The more you can like and share and comment, the more you can help that creator, your favorite designer, your favorite crafter get additional exposure, and it helps other people in our community find their favorite crafters as well. So please do consider doing that. And also, if you haven't already checked out Biddy Penny's YouTube channel, please do, because as she mentioned, she's got a very diverse channel sharing a lot of different projects. So they're all, if you're just a paper crafter fan and you love to learn and you like all things paper crafting, Biddy Penny's channel is where to be at, because there's always something new, something different, and something fun. So, check her channel out, watch a few videos if you like what you see, maybe, hit that subscribe so that you can get notifications and whatnot whenever she posts new content to her channel. So, all of the YouTube things being said,
Right?
Well,
thank you. You put a big smile on my heart. Like, thank you for the kind words.
Oh, well,
Really
it's
appreciate it.
all, it's all you. You're so wonderful. And so I am always happy to support you in all of your endeavors, my friend.
Oh, likewise. So, you ready to get into this?
I am so ready.
Let's do it. Okay, I'm just gonna, while you're getting your table set up, I'm gonna let everyone know what I'm working with here. So I've got basic copy weight paper. I grabbed about 5 or 6 sheets, which is all you need for one journal. And what I'm gonna do now, I typically tea dye in batches, but that's not something that we can do here at my desk. So I'm gonna show you a faux tea dye that is very easy to replicate with watercolor. I think Lynn is going to ink or an ink for hers. And all we're going to do is paint the paper And this is the first step so that our paper has time to dry before we start like assembling our signatures. So I'm just going to create a brown color. I'm going to use raw umber. And I'm going to just kind of paint across my page. It can be messy. You can create your color on a palette if you want. Now, I am also a card maker, right? So I've got stamp blocks coming out of my ears, which is not a problem. Like, I want the stamp blocks coming out of my ears. I get sad when I don't have enough, you know? So
I just picked up this big one at the Spellbinders warehouse sale. We were talking about that earlier. And have you seen one this size? It's like
I
basically
got the
slimline
5x7
size.
in the warehouse sale. Is that what you got? The 5x7?
No, this is slimline. It's 8.5
Oh, goodness.
by, I think, 4 or something like that. It's
wow.
Yeah, it's a beautiful like palette. Wait, did you say raw umber? I have gouache.
Oh, yeah, you could use it. You just need to dilute it down, but you can use anything. Use your ink if you want.
Yeah, I might.
It really doesn't matter.
How's yellow ochre sound to you?
Anything that, like, match it to your palette of your papers, but
Girl,
it doesn't have to be
I'm
perfect.
not good with.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Not at all. And when you can do this any which way. Like, I have a big brush that I'm using, but you don't have to. If you don't have a big brush, then, you could put a bunch on a large stamping block like this. You could kind of fill it with your mixture and then smush it down and get some really cool effects. So all we're doing is just kind of transforming this white copy paper into something different, and fun. And we're just faux tea dyeing. And this will actually dry pretty quickly. You don't want to like oversaturate.
Okay.
You don't need to get it like sopping wet,
And you're not looking for like super
nothing
complete
perfect
coverage, right?
Nope. In fact, my friend Desiree had sent me a journal last year for Christmas that she had made, and she just partially tea dyes her paper, and I fell in love with it, and I have stopped fully tea dyeing ever since. I like partially just do a little bit now, which is actually more tricky when you're doing it to only get a little bit of the paper wet, but with a brush it's easier. So I'm just going to kind of move that around, ink smush. And then, so we will do this for a few pages. You can do both sides because both sides are going to be in
both sides.
Your journal.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I had someone comment recently on my channel about like, they really like white pages in their journal, and I don't mind them. I really don't. But today, what we're working with is your paper is single-sided. Lynn, is that right?
No, my pattern paper is double-sided.
Oh, it is. Okay, cool. So that's cool. And then if we tea dye this, that will just help it blend better with your palette, especially the palette that you're working with. You're kind of working with a vintage color palette there. So see there, I didn't even spread it on. I just kind of dripped it on.
Yeah.
I love this look. And that way, if you do want to mix some white paper in, you totally can, because you're saving and sparing there's the white.
Got it. Okay.
So
taking a step back a little bit as we do this, can you explain what junk journaling is?
Yeah, sure.
For the newly initiated.
Right.
Like myself.
To me, it's the art of like reuse. It's the art of taking something and giving it new life. Like, I think it started really with like literally like junk mail. I think it was very mixed media in the beginning, and it has transformed over the years. I know There's a creator, and I'm pretty sure she's still active. Jenny Belly, I think is what her name was. And she brought up a great debate just a few years ago about like, if you're using patterned paper and you're using printables and you're using all these things and it's not really junk, and technically that shouldn't be called a junk journal. And it brought about, I think, at least a lot of interest. But what I've seen since then is that all that people do is they say, okay, this might not technically be junk, but everyone still calls it a junk journal, because I think as consumers of art content, people look up junk journaling. They do. I think art journaling is gaining exposure and speed, but like, you know, it's just what people search for. It's how they find you. And it can really, I think junk journaling can be anything you want it to be. It's a freedom technique in a way.
It's a freedom technique. I love that.
Yeah, like it can be, as far as I'm concerned, my view is that it can be anything you want it to be. No limits, no rules. I feel the same way about card making. I saw a video not that long ago where someone was talking about trends in card making. And to me, what she described were styles, not trends. And she had described like, well, ink blending is like, so, you know, early 2000s. And I'm thinking ink blending is a big part of my life. What are you talking about? I think, you know, like what she really described were different kinds of card makers.
Yeah.
And I think junk journaling is much the same. Like, as many different kinds of card makers that you can think of, there's that many kinds of junk journalers.
And is the craft of it to make it, or do you use the journal?
Well, I think it depends on the person. But I use them. So I use, like, I'm not a planner girl. I have much respect for planner girls, but I'm not one. But what I do like to do is just like make lists and check them off, you know, give myself some task and some list. And so I have a journal that I use for all of my list and like ideas for my channel and projects. I keep a junk journal for my family where I document special occasions and things. And it's so nice because I don't have to think about a scrapbook page and like the design, but I can add anything. I can add pictures, movie tickets, wristbands from a concert, you know, just whatever memorabilia that I collect along the way can get smashed into the pages, and I can document our life in a very free form way. So, and then I have some for like thoughts and plans. I have a junk journal for quotes. I mean, you can use them for anything.
Yeah. Well, that's a relief to hear, because honestly, like I feel like to me that was a big mystery.
Of how to use it.
Yeah, because I've been interested in junk journaling, and this is the very first one I've ever made. But I've been interested in it and have caught, you know, videos on it, but I never really understood, like, for what purpose am I making this?
Like, okay, right? Well, it's funny because like my husband, now he's not a visual artist. He's not a paper crafter. He's a musician. And, you know, he looks at junk journals and he's like, no way. That's like a torturing device. There's no way I could deal with that. Like, it's too chaotic for me, you know, and it all depends, you know, on the journal and on the people.
Yeah.
And I do think a big part of it is making them. Like, I make a lot to sell and to give as gifts and things like that. So, because my shelves would fill up way too quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I mean, I think that's the gist of sort of what I got when I was looking for answers to that question, was, you know, you use it however you want to use it. And not all crafting has to be purposeful, I feel. I think art journaling in a lot of ways is sort of just the process,
Yeah.
and exploring something new, exploring something different. I don't do a ton of art journaling. Now, just so that I know what I'm doing, I do the backs too, right? Should I go back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead and do both. And then we're just going to kind of set them to the side. I don't know how much space you have there. If you don't stack them on top of each other, they'll dry quicker.
Okay.
But if your space is limited, then go ahead. Like, they really will dry pretty quickly because we're not soaking the fibers too much. So it should be fine. They're looking good, Lynn, by the way, your pages. I'm looking at them and they look great.
Thank you. I want that big old brush of yours. It seems to I kind of like the marks that it makes better than my brush, which is a cheapy brush.
Yeah, this is a Zen watercolor brush, and I don't know what size it is. I also really like these big, like, Japanese calligraphy brushes.
Oh, yeah.
And they're very inexpensive. So that's a good option. I mean, anything. You could pull out like a paintbrush. Like anything will do.
I like that you just happen to have one.
I have like 3, because sometimes the job has got to get done a lot quicker than this. There's more area to cover. You never know what size brush you're going to need.
That's too funny. Bitty Penny did mention that I have this walnut ink, and for folks who aren't familiar, lots of companies make these. You can get them in different formats also. I have it in I buy it in crystalline form, and it is derived just from actual, like, I think the shell of walnuts, and it gives like a really beautiful kind of stain, the look of what Bitty Penny is having us go for, like that tea stain, coffee stain look. And what's great about the crystals is that it's dry and you can dilute it to whatever intensity you'd like. And so it's really great. I just happened to, like, minutes before we went live, I remembered about this, and I was like, oh yeah, I should use that. So I already had some dissolved, and I'm gonna flick it and do some splattering.
Nice. Yeah, and guys, if you don't have watercolors, if you don't have the walnut stain, maybe you have mica sprays. Maybe you have like the Tim Holtz distress sprays. We even talked earlier about like watercolor pens. Like, there's so many options as to what you can use. You just basically want to transfer color onto your paper and whatever medium and way that you want. One thing that I love about junk journaling and the community of junk journaling is they're not quite as product based. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but they're just not.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're just using whatever you have in your stash. So I even encourage you to do that with what we're doing here and getting color on our page. Just like use whatever you have in your stash.
Absolutely. And I think I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I do remember when I was doing and this is maybe years ago, when I was looking into junk journaling and trying to learn about it and how to do it and whatnot. I think one of the things that I either read or saw on a channel was that like Bitty Penny was saying, it kind of started as using proper junk, but because it was not like meant to be a statement, but more just that crafting can be expensive.
Yes.
So, this was just a way to get into crafting and do crafting and be creative without having to feel like you needed to buy all the things. And, to your point, we don't need to necessarily have all the latest and greatest and all the products from all the makers to create beautiful projects. You can just use, going back to your original, definition, just found things,
Yes.
So that includes whatever's in your stash, if you have a stash, and whatever you have around your household, even if it's not really craft specific.
Yes, like I showed you this box that I kept, which the only thing is it's easy to look like a junky hoarder when you're a junk journaler because most people would just recycle this or throw this away. And I was like, no, I think that can be a junk journal cover. If I just cut off the top and do this and do that, then I'll have the basis of a junk journal. Like it's crazy. Or I thought it could be a cool like shaker immediately, like even for our card makers who are here, you know, you look at a package like this could be a shaker card. All you have to do is cut the frame out, put some foam tape behind it, put in your sequins, decorate, you know, you could add some like paper there and cover up the branding, and all of a sudden you have the basis of a shaker card or a journal.
Yeah, I mean that's a true crafter, isn't it, folks? Like what is junk to other people or recycling to other people is art supplies to us.
That's right. Absolutely. It helps break us out.
That's beautiful. Is that Echo Park?
It is. So I got one of their warehouse boxes the last time they had a sale. I love it when they do those like mystery boxes.
Oh yeah.
And I don't do it more than once a year. I don't even do it. I probably like every 18 months I'll allow myself to get one, but I went for it and got one.
Cool.
And so this is Jingle All the Way. So it's a double-sided. And the reason I chose this is I haven't made any Christmas journals yet this year, which I'm probably like really far behind, but it is what it is. I went thrift store shopping with my mom today, and I got this bag of Christmas cards for $2. I haven't even looked at it yet, but I thought, hey, I can make a Christmas journal with this. And so they're not even used. Usually, sometimes we have a restore. Letty, let us know what it's actually called. I'm terrible with names, but basically we have a Crafty recycling shop here in Austin where people donate craft supplies and you can go and buy them super cheap.
Oh, cool.
Oh, it's amazing. Letty took me there. And I took my mom a few months ago, and I got a whole box of Christmas cards, but they had all been signed. They had all been used. And I loved that about them because that is something that most people would discard. Like if you were going through someone's estate, you're probably going to discard most of that stuff. Ooh, this one would be good with this because it's got a red truck. But yeah, like most of the time, I think people would discard them because they've already been used. Like, what are you going to do with that? Yeah. And I just went ahead and just got them all because well, maybe not them all, but I got a big box of them because I was like, well, I know I can turn that into a junk journal. And I love it even more because it already has been sent. It already has been used.
Yeah.
And for me, that made it even more appealing.
Well, yeah, because it's got the markings and
yeah. And I'm really rescuing something that is otherwise probably destined for the landfill, you know?
Right. Yep. Are you done with your watercoloring, your tea staining?
I am.
Dang, girl, you did front and back. I'm just checking the rules here. Did you follow your rules?
I don't know. There's no rules. Did I forget to tell you that? Hey, Debbie, welcome.
Oh yeah. Sorry if I'm missing you in the chat. I'm very focused on what I'm doing right now. I'm like,
how
which
many
pages have I done?
Doing?
How many sides have I done?
Yeah, how many sheets have you done?
I have how many sheets? I have 5 started, and I think I need to do the backs on 2.
So you're in great shape.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. You're doing fine.
I need that big fat brush of yours. I seriously like the big, it makes beautiful marks because I've got this flat one. I feel like the marks aren't as nice. They're very, I don't know.
It's fun to, it's fun to get your brushes out and see what they'll do, what kind of marks they'll make.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm like splattering all over my area.
The this truck was meant to be. I mean, it looks just like the truck on this patterned paper here. That is wild.
But you know what that made me think of when you were talking about, you know, the estate sale and, you know, the Christmas cards that have already been sent and signed. I think it would be, okay, chat can tell us if this is insulting or if it's if it's complimentary, but it made me think, you know, I save all of the Christmas cards that people send me, but they're just in a box. And I wonder if like pulling them out and actually like turning them into something would be a better way of like maybe commemorating, or, you know.
Well, turn it in. I was thinking of this when I was thinking about people grabbing supplies and maybe being inspired by me pulling out these cards. Like, I think we all have boxes of Christmas cards that we don't know what to do with. Yeah. And I think junk journaling is a great way to turn them into something, like mixing them with pattern paper, mixing them with whatever paper you want. Suddenly you've got a Christmas journal filled with your loved one's messages and a way to treasure and hold on to it. But then you can journal between the pages, you know, and
okay, good.
So I think a journal is a perfect place to put all of those.
Yeah, because I figure, because you can save, you know, the message that they wrote and incorporate that into, you know, and then even if you don't do anything else, it's at least something physical that can be flipped through that, you know, is maybe something you could just kind of put out during the holidays too.
Right.
Just so that, you know, you can kind of be reminded and look at them every once in a while, as opposed to right now they're in a box in a drawer or wherever, in my house anyways. So
make like a Christmas collage and frame it that you put up each year.
Yeah.
I saw kind of a cool collage like that today when I was out. Someone, it was very old. It was like from the 70s, but someone had collaged all these different like fall like things into tiles and made like one picture from it.
Oh, how cool.
You could do that with the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I lost my father years ago, and the things that have his handwriting, it doesn't matter what he wrote on, but the things that have his handwriting, I will not part with. Yeah. You know? And so I think if you could take the cards, like taking the cards that my father had given me over the years and making a journal, you know, of them, like, I think that's just such a sweet way to hold on to those memories.
Yeah, that's a fabulous idea. Yeah, I lost my father a few years ago too, and I wish there were more things that I had of his where, you know, he wasn't a card sender. So
right.
You know what I mean? So like I would be very precious about that as well. He was a photographer, like an amateur photographer, and so I thankfully have so many of his photos from different trips and, you know, just occasions and stuff. So, you know, however we can cherish those memories, I think it's wonderful, especially when it's, you know, also a little mix of our own creativity just thrown in there too.
Right. Like you can make a junk journal with his photographs and, you know, but you're constructing it and you're putting it together, and you could put some of your, like, maybe if you knew the places or the times, how old he was, you know, you could make a treasure that one day your children would cherish having, like, and it would be the combination of both of your hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah.
The possibilities are endless.
Indeed. Okay.
That's why I love this hobby.
I think we've got something going for on all 5 sheets now. So
that's all you need. And you really don't even need that, but I think it gives you the look of what a typical junk journal would look like.
Yes. And I kind of like that you're making me bring out things that I clearly have, but have not used, at least not very often anyways. So I'm loving, I love that. I love being able to kind of use the things that we buy. And I think that is part of the charm of junk journaling, like I was saying, because it's not focused on products like you said.
No.
It's focused on giving new life to something that's literally junk, or just giving life to things that are sitting around that haven't been used. So
Yeah, and I like making completely random junk journals from my scraps. Like I have a box of scraps underneath my desk. And I'll just pull it out, put like pages together, and just build the most random junk journals. Or I really like to do themes. Like the one I was showing everyone earlier was my like Anne of Green Gable inspired one. And like this one's a Christmas inspired one. And then all the ideas that you and I just had about one about your father's photography, or family's Christmas cards over the years. And like, that's another thing I love about it, is that you can find a theme, and you can set out like with a purpose, which goes back to your initial very first question you had for me, like, what do you do with these? What do you use these for? And I think if you can think of a purpose even ahead of time when you come to something like this, then it will make it even more special to you.
Yeah, and I think that it's so lovely that you can, it's really just for anything, really, right? It's whatever you want it to be, even if it's just even if it's art, because it is art. So you don't have to do anything beyond just the making of it.
That's right.
And and that's totally okay. So I love that. It's just one of those things where I feel like a lot of tutorial videos that I've seen in the past anyway have been so focused on like, the making of that's never said. And so then I never know, like, am I doing it for the right, purpose?
You are not alone. I mean, lots of people feel that way. Seriously, lots of people. It's the most, I think, frequently asked question. Like, okay, great. These are cool. What am I going to do?
Now what?
What do you want me to do with this thing? I mean, it's junk, right?
Yeah. I love this. I'm a little behind in chat, but I love this. I saw from Susan. She said, I found a whole stack of old Christmas cards in a tote that were all signed, sealed, and addressed, ready to mail. Oops. Unfortunately, some of those recipients are divorced and or deceased now. Oops again.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, and I know some people who, again, are limited on supplies. They can't buy all the stamps, the dies, the stencils, all the things that we see so much in the card making community. I mean, I won't go off on it here because we're talking about junk journals, but I do wish our card making community sometimes would kind of scale back and go back to the basics sometimes, for people who don't have the resources, don't have the space, but have the desire to make cards. Because I know a lot of them would cut these up and make a card from this card, or whatever. Like, there's so many possibilities.
Yeah. One of the, I have to tell this real quick. When I first started my channel, one of the very first videos, don't go watch it because it's probably really embarrassing.
I know that feeling.
But one of the very first videos, and I'm so glad that you said what you just said, because I am going to take that to heart. Because one of the very first videos I did was how to craft like on the cheap and just find things at the dollar store. And one of the things was to just buy, because Dollar Tree, you can get 2 for $1 cards. You can get, packs of gift bags, and was it paper, gift wrap. All of that makes for just beautiful alternatives to pattern paper. And if you're okay with doing a little fussy cutting, you can get some focal images out of those pre-made cards. And so it's just like a bit of upcycling, and then you don't have to necessarily like go out and buy all the things. So
no one will know that your card
Oh yeah, for sure.
Images came from the Dollar Tree,
Yeah.
and or like no one will know that these came from the thrift store, or even if they do, I don't really care, but obviously, but like when you go and cut this out and make it handmade, the minute someone knows that you've made something for them that is handmade,
Mm-hmm.
the whole dynamic changes. They feel, no matter what it is, they feel like considered more. It's like feels more considerate that you took the time to make and give them something handmade. And a lot of the criticism that we put on ourselves as creators isn't there. We think it'll be there, but it's not there. The person receiving is just delighted that you made them something, you know? So,
Absolutely. And to be honest, I know that not everybody is that appreciative of handmade stuff,
well, it's true. It's true.
but you know your audience, right?
Right.
So, I think that's one of the things where, put your love and time and because I think that's worth more than putting your money into buying, a $10 card, upcycling a, 50-cent card and putting your time and energy into it is much, for me, much more special than, any dollar amount that anyone were to spend on anything for me, a card, a gift, anything. So,
Yeah.
um,
They can't get it anywhere else.
yeah, one of a kind.
That's right.
That's
Okay.
my mom is like that too. She's like that's why she loves sewing her own clothes. And a lot of times her coworkers will compliment her and ask, where did she get that? And she'll say that she made it, and they'll be like, "Can you make me one?" And she'll like have to think about it because she's like, "But I
I
like
don't
being
know
the
if I
only
have
one with
time
this."
for that. Yeah. I don't know your
Okay, my
size.
friend, I have I've stalled you enough. What are we doing next?
Let's make the cover. So, all we're going to use, you guys, and this is not necessary, but this to me makes it more approachable for beginners. We just grabbed a file folder, a manila file folder. This is actually a really cheap, flimsy one, so it doesn't have to be anything special. And this could be recycled. I just don't have, any. But if you have some old ones with old files that you just need to shred the files and use the folder to make a cover. I'm going to make my envelopes for my cards. I'm going to use that as kind of my guide for how wide I want this journal to be.
Okay.
So I'm taking my envelope and I'm going to put it, so this is construction wise. The envelope for my card is going to be sewn into my signature like here. Okay, so I'm going to use that as my basis for figuring out how wide I want this. Now, on junk journals, you always want the height of your journal, your pages, to be roughly the same height as your cover, but you want your cover wider going across the page, because what happens is as you stuff more and more pages into your journal, these sides start shrinking, right? So they start holding more material. So you always want more width here, but the height here doesn't have to be. Now, that being said, not all your pages have to be the same height. So I'm using my envelope here for my width, but not my height. I'm going to let my height of my pages actually be, I'm going to make my journal about, I'm going to say 8 3/4 tall at the highest.
Okay.
And then that way that faux tea-dyed paper that we just did fits, because all we have to do is fold it in half.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, no trimming or anything. So, Lynn, for yours, you can make yours any width that you want. Like a typical width for me is about 12 inches. So you really only need to trim your paper. If you're using scrapbook paper, depending on how you want to use it in your book, and if it's directional and things like that, is you can actually fold this up so that it's 8.5 high, but make and snip pockets.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we'll do for those. So let's make your cover. So take your file folder and make it like 8 3/4 high. So on this.
Okay.
And make it 6 inches wide on each side, right? So if it was unfolded to be 12, but probably your trimmer can handle, depending on how thick yours is, just cutting this at 6 and this at 8 3/4.
Should it be wider than 6 though? If I'm folding my 12 by 12 in half, and the cover should be wider than the pages?
Well, you can do 6.5 is fine.
Okay.
But it's not really necessary. Like 6 should work a lot of times, because like and here's why I say this. Sometimes I trim it down on the sides because you're working with like 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, right?
Yeah.
So it's your paper's 11 inches long most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So then 6 inches gives you plenty of room.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
going with 6.
I'm gonna go ahead and cut mine down to 8 3/4, and then I'm gonna cut it to 6 inches. Oh wait, no, I got to do mine differently.
Yeah,
almost forgot.
You're using You're using your envelope.
Yes, I need to do mine wider.
Do we just need one?
One file folder.
Oh, okay.
Did you keep your seam? You didn't cut on your seam. If you did, it's fine. But
I kept it.
Perfect. Now you already have a spine.
Done and done. Book. See, way faster than a mini album.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little secret. Small journals take just as long as big ones. So, I know this is your first one, but you might as well jump in the deep end and do big, because small might even be more troublesome. Of course, because I'm a junk journaler, I'm going to tell you to keep these pieces of your file folder. We will use them. Okay, so now we have the beginnings of our cover. And now just pick your favorite paper, your favorite scrapbook paper for the front and inside, 2 sheets. And you're going to cut those down so that, they fit each side. We're going to glue one on each side, basically.
Oh, man.
It's hard, right? Picking
this...
It's a challenge.
This is the part that takes me forever, folks. This is why I was like, girl, there's no way I can finish this in an hour and a half. You know how long it takes me to pick paper?
Just spread it out, close your eyes, and
yeah. I think so. I know that you can't really go wrong for one. So if you're playing along, don't be like Lynn, because honestly, it's gonna be beautiful no matter what you choose. Because,
that's right.
You made it, and so. For me, you know what I'm doing? I'm flipping through and make sure I don't use the last of anything.
I do that.
Oh, folks. I know
paper
you all
pads
get it.
that I really love. I have no problem keeping a sheet or a quarter sheet of my favorites. And that's another actually really fun scrapbook, is to make one that is just for your favorite papers and keep swatches and things, because I have some papers that just immediately drive up my feelings of creativity. You know what I mean? I feel supercharged by my favorite papers sometimes. So having a swatch book and a place for that, you can make a journal for that.
Yeah, I do swatch my papers. Oh, these are single-sided. Can I use single-sided? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Have you seen this? These papers are gorgeous. It's from Die Cuts with a View, and it's their Old World stack. It's this gorgeous, really thick, like a linen paper, and it's so pretty. Everything is so pretty.
I love their designs, their paper.
Yeah,
And
and
it's got a nice quality.
it's such a good quality, and it's like wallpaper, you know, old wallpaper kind of
Mm-hmm.
look, and I love it for these in particular, just the quality, because it's the linen and it's so thick, and you get a ton of sheets. So I need some contrast, so maybe something dark. I'm picking a lot of papers. How many am I going to end up needing?
Well, you're going to have 5 pages that are your tea dye. So I would say 10 more pages total. So 15 is kind of a good number for a single signature, which is what we're doing. Now, here's the thing. I didn't tell you to bring like an awl or a needle or thread or anything. So the journal that we're going to make today is going to be flowish. And what that means is that you can take your papers in and out and rearrange them and add more later. So it's one of my favorite styles of journals because of just the flexibility.
I mean, I do have a needle and I have stuff.
Okay, if you want to sew, we can totally sew, or we can do flow. It's either way.
Up to you, my friend. But I got the stuff.
You're prepared. I'm loving it.
Well, I don't know that I'm prepared. I just have a lot of stuff.
I love that.
Oddly enough, like kind of at hand. Okay, now I'm ready. I got papers. I need to bring out my guillotine because that's my favorite trimmer.
Oh yeah. This is my favorite, this We Are Memory Keepers trim and score, because I'm typically scoring something. So it allows me to have a scoreboard and a trimmer all in one place.
Oh yeah, I use my I use this a lot too, my all-in-one, for the same reason. I just like that blade is getting a little bit dull, and so I just don't want to deal with the feathers, you know.
I get it.
What am I cutting my pattern paper for my cover size-wise?
Just to match the cover that you just did. So here's mine. So I have.
Oh, match it exactly.
Yeah, just match it exactly. And score it. Go ahead and score it, and that way it'll be easier to like adhere and fold later. It can get a little wonky if you don't score along the way.
Got it. Okay, 8.5. Maybe I will start using this. This is fun.
Oh, thanks, Megan. She said my nails are mesmerizing.
Aw.
Oh, thank you. Not always. I got special nails for the Craft Roulette World Card Makers day, and I was with Lynn that day as well, and I was like, let me not look so shabby here.
Nice. I'm surprised they've held up this long. I can never get nail polish to hold up for like, it's been a week.
Yeah, but these aren't my nails. These daggers are fake. All right.
These daggers are fake.
Oh, so we went last night, off subject, everyone. That's how I roll. So last night we went to see Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
No way.
Yes, it was so good. They're doing a tour right now called the Restless Leg Tour. Hilarious. They're loving being 50, and they've been friends for 30 years. And so they're kind of just having like a best friends tour and commemorating their friendship and their careers. And it's like a variety show. It was so enjoyable. Oh, cool. Had the best time. The laughter, the fun. It's so good. So all I did was
I cut something wrong.
I'm kind of on autopilot, so sorry. But
no, I cut my paper to 8.5. and not 8 3/4.
Oh, 8.5 is perfect. It's perfectly fine.
Okay, I gotta trim
Your
my file folder.
cover, like the height wise for your cover and your pages can be exactly the same.
Okay.
Not a problem.
So question from Delise Stamper Girl, and I have an answer to this, but it's a question addressed to you. Toby, do you feel the We Are Memory Keeper blade goes dull too fast?
I do a ton of paper crafting, and I will tell you that I extend the life of it. I get a ball of foil and ball it up, a sheet of foil, and I ball it up, and I kind of just like tap my blade into that, and I can usually get an extra use or two out of my blades. That's one way I can extend the life of them.
Yeah.
For me, it's the functionality. It's like the price I pay to have that functionality in one tool. So I do wish they would last longer, but at the same time, I don't want to lose that functionality. So I just replace them as needed. But I will tell you, with all the paper crafting that I do, and it's a lot. Like I did 15 journals last month, 56 cards, some craft fair projects.
Hey.
My blade usually lasts a few months. So I don't think that's too bad, really, for the volume that I do.
Volume that you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I have found, at least for I think with We Are Memory Keepers, their blades, I feel like their blades last longer than the Fiskars one, at least.
Yes.
And so with Fiskars, I used to love that trimmer. I've had it for like 10 plus years, and I would go a very long time without having to change the blade. But I feel like the new replacement blades are not the same on Fiskars. And while I feel like at least for the all-in-one We Are Memory Keepers one, it does, I feel like I have to replace it pretty often, but I'm like you. I kind of, that going in, it's not one of those, kind of self-sharpening.
Right.
So you kind of know it's going to be a
guillotine.
consumable.
Yeah.
And so I'm not as upset by it, but it's definitely lasting a lot longer than the Fiskars one. So I'm happy about that.
That's nice. Yeah, I started with a little like $9 Fiskars trimmer and loved it for years.
Yeah.
So, but if you're, the trim and score board, at least when I bought it before, was like $35. And I have used this thing for years. So the construction is good, and that part lasts. It's just the blade that I have to replace. And I maybe buy 2 or 3 a year. They come in a 2-pack, so
yeah,
it's not excessive.
Plus, I always just get it any and every time I see it on sale.
Yeah, if someone's having a sale, that's a good time to pick it up.
Yeah, because you're gonna need it.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, I have other trimmers, right? So I use for different purposes. I have a big industrial trimmer that I use to cut down all my card bases, and I cut down hundreds of sheets at one time.
Oh, nice. Oh, I would love to have one of those. Can you move closer to me so we can
I wish, girl. We might be grounded. We'd be hanging out too much, but that would be fun. Yeah. So, I do, and I have a guillotine that I use if I'm usually if I'm junk journaling, because a lot of times I like to make multiple journals. Like I'll pick a theme and make like 6 of them, right? Yeah. So I do have like a guillotine where I could cut down I can cut down 5 or 6 sheets at a time. It just speeds up the process.
Yeah.
So I don't lean on this one for everything.
Right. Yeah. So, you got other ones you're cycling through.
Right.
Delise says, wait, I lost something. Are you girls gluing? Yeah, we are. So
yeah, I can go over mine real
talking.
quick. Yeah, like, sorry. Like I said,
keep asking Bitty Penny questions, so she's not explaining.
And then I'm a fast crafter, so I'm kind of on autopilot over here, and I'm sorry for that. Okay, so all I did here was cut off my branding strips. Okay, so we'll put those to the side. That's what I just did with those. And then with my cover now, my cover is done, except for like when I want to make a focal point. But I took my paper and trimmed it to be the exact size for a inside cover and a front cover and just glued it down. I did score each piece, so now it folds nicely. And I actually just pulled this out because I need to use it. I'm trying to use up stuff, and so I used Eileen's tacky glue for that today. Like, just whatever you got.
Yeah, I have that stuff too. Probably.
It's a little thick. It's a little goopy, but it works. And that mine might be thick and goopy because it's older.
Yeah. So I'm doing what you said earlier.
Oh, okay. So you're already onto your pages. Look at you.
No, I was gonna do this in the inside cover.
Oh, okay. Oh, but you're making it a pocket?
Yeah.
I love that. Awesome idea.
I thought that's what we were supposed to do.
I usually don't, but you totally can.
Oops.
Uh-oh.
Something dropped.
So are you so it's scored. Here's what I would do, Lynn, is
I'm gonna cut that.
What are you gonna cut?
I was gonna cut the score line on the pocket.
Yes, yes. Like do a little angled cut on each side so it doesn't get too thick in the center.
Yeah. Perfect.
You know what you're doing.
I'm right there with you.
You got this.
Well, so this is kind of what I was telling you earlier, that I just appreciate the fact that junk journaling can be really just anything. And a lot of your paper crafting, like you said, you're just paper crafting, both supplies, techniques, anything really transfers.
It really does.
Like I make a lot of mini albums and notebooks and stuff like that. Because that's the other thing. Pre-stream, Bitty Penny was giving me options. She's like, "What do you have? What do you want? We could use your cinch." And I was like, "Girl, I got the things. You just give me directions and I'll go with the flow." But I love that you said the cinch was an option, because that's so easy.
Oh yeah, I love my cinch. I use my cinch when I'm making like scrappy journals. They're still junk journals, but what I'm able to do is make a little I make little small notebooks, and it's all my scraps. Like every page is just a different scrap and a different size, and I cinch it all together, and I have a mini junk journal.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't know that I've heard of anyone doing a junk journal with the cinch, just because so often I see a lot of the sewn signatures and or like the traveler's notebook kind of signatures too.
Yeah.
But cinching, well, it's a really nice option.
Oh, I love my cinch.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, look at that.
Awesome. Okay. I couldn't do real math, so I just had to fudge my numbers. 3.5 inches, you guys. If you score it 3.5, you'll have your pocket for 8.5 high.
Yeah,
I couldn't do that math a minute ago.
I think it's all just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things I did a little bit of art journaling. And I haven't been doing it as much this year, but I did a bit of it last year, and it just was very freeing to craft for the sake of crafting and not necessarily for like a purpose, which I know is weird of me to say considering like I started off with what do we do these for and give me a purpose. Because that's how my mind goes. Like that's the first thing I want to know, and that's why when I did dabble in a bit of art journaling, it felt really good to just craft for the sake of crafting.
Yes.
And just, you know, kind of explore different ideas, explore different techniques, different media supplies, different whatever, pull things out of the stash that I bought like years ago and have not used yet. Stuff like that.
We're all guilty.
Thank you. I know, no judgment zone here.
Nope, not at all. So I want to explain real quick what I'm doing with my paper, just in case people are like watching and wondering like, what is she doing? So some of my pages, I wanted 2 pockets in my journal. So I did do what I just took my 12 by 12, folded up, scored it 3.5 and folded it up. Right. So I've got 2 now pages that will go in my journal that will have pockets. But then I took my others and trimmed them down to 12 inches wide, and I just trimmed off the bottom to where this was 8.5. And so I have scraps, but those scraps are lovely and big and perfect for card making or journaling. So I'm just going to put those to the side. But then I didn't just score these all down the middle. I scored them at kind of like 5.5 on one side. And I changed up which side I did that on each time. And that way there is an excess here, but this can just be folded over. And now this also creates a pocket.
Fun.
And it makes the journal more interesting because you kind of get like these peekaboo moments now because your pages aren't all exactly the same width. And I really like that. Plus you have a built-in pocket now here on this side once you glue the top and the bottom. And that's not like an added thing that you have to do or add to the journal. So I alternated those. So I just wanted to explain that because this way you really are just taking a little bit off of your paper each time. You're only cutting off the bottom to be whatever height of the journal that you want. You're keeping that 12 inches and, you know, on one side, the one that's extra long, you can create a pocket. So it's just kind of fun and changes things up.
Okay. So you're doing, so the pages are more pattern papers, yeah?
Yes. That's what I'm doing with you here today. I do use a lot of printables in my journals. I can't help myself. Like NZ, that's my son's name. Etsy printables are just irresistible to me. I'm on a couple of design teams for some Etsy designers who design junk journal printables, but you don't have to have them. And I think it's fun to use like these things that we might have for card making and such.
Okay. So are all of your pages going to have pockets?
No, I'm going to make, no. So, well, I mean, a lot of them, it looks like they will. So I think this will be a great, like kind of Advent, the one I'm making now. I think it's going to be really fun, like an Advent thing.
Cool.
So the more pockets I put in, then I can put in, you know, different things that according to the Advent or something.
Yeah. Okay. So you're at 12, you cut to an 8.5 inch height, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So I either folded to an 8.5 like you did. So I either folded to an 8.5 or I cut to an 8.5.
Okay.
Then I scored at 5.5 on some. Or I scored at, let me figure it out. Sorry.
Oh, because your width is different than mine though.
Or I scored at 7.5. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I think I'm working with a slightly different width.
Yeah, because mine, I'm working with 6 inches. So, but if I score
Your
it,
cover's 6 inches, right?
yeah.
So your pages 5.5 would probably be about right for your pages.
Okay. Width. 5.5 there. And that gives me a little extra. Ooh. And then, so what did you do with your extra again? You just folded it over?
Yeah. So like,
Ooh, that's cool.
okay. So
That's like a card right there.
Right. So this is the 12-inch piece. And I scored it first at 5.5. Well, let's see. I scored it at 7.5 on this particular one first. Mm-hmm. I folded that over. Then I folded a little bit back on that front piece and a little bit in on that back piece. And now they are it's 5 inches. But you know, that's just because I wasn't measuring. I was just kind of folding. So now I'm going to glue. You don't have to glue these down. These don't have to be pockets. What's fun about this design actually is that I could take something like a photograph. Let me just grab something. Or one of the cards or something and make it a flip out. So
right. Yeah.
It has a lot of potential in that way as well. My craft room is a disaster, you guys. It is the worst it's been. I've decided I'm going to have to just like box some things up and be like, okay, label it. I'll play with it later, but it can't occupy the space with me right now.
That's too funny.
But essentially, I'm going to, Lynn, does your paper pad have any cut aparts? Mine has a lot of cut aparts in different sizes.
I don't think any of these 3 do, unfortunately.
Which is kind of, yeah, I mean, it does, you know, it's fun to play with them if they do, but it's not like a deal breaker. Like you can bring in anything and make it work. But I'm going to use some of my cut aparts, and I was just going to cut one apart real quick and show you what I'm talking about with a flip out.
Oh, Cynthia's in the house. Hi, Cynthia. Welcome. Kim in Alaska is here. Heather's here.
And my friend Angela's here. Did you ever find the rogue razor blade? Nope. Danger zone. Don't come in my craft room. There is a razor blade shard somewhere in here.
Oh my gosh. That's scary.
I know. It's a good way to keep people out, Lynn. Okay.
You're like, this. That's so funny. Project 39 mini albums. Is that Debbie?
That's Debbie.
Hi, Debbie. Welcome. That's so funny. What do I do with if I do have single-sided? Should I tea stain the other side or
no? Not necessary.
Okay.
Especially because when you were doing the faux tea staining, you were leaving some of it white, right?
Yeah.
So the beauty in that is then the white pages look really intentional. They belong. And I was going to say, I'm actually glad you brought that up because this paper pad is like not vintage at all that I'm using. It's got a lot of white. You wouldn't even need to tea dye if you were using a paper pad like this. You could just use a more basic paper because there's so much white in it already. It'll be interesting though, I think, for people to see how adding that aspect of it changes things.
Yeah.
It kind of takes a different, makes it take on a different look.
So do you think I should, for the white, should that be on the inside of my folded?
I sometimes alternate. So like when I'm working with a single-sided patterned paper, some of them I'll have the pattern on the outside and some of them I'll fold them so the pattern is on the inside. It's an option if you want, but I don't know. I do that sometimes, but I think I actually like it. My brain likes it when the patterns are all going the same. So I fold all the patterns on the outside.
Okay, that's kind of my inclination too.
Yeah, I do think that that's how I prefer it, but either one is an option.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. So I think I'm going to stick with that.
So I'm just sitting here cutting my ephemera, my cut aparts to use as ephemera in my journal. But tell me where you're at in your process. How are your pages coming along? How many pages do you have so far?
I've got one kind of a wonky fold, and then I've got like a different width, and then I've got one that is so I've got two so far. I'm working on my third. Although I shouldn't cut this to exactly 6 inches if my cover is 6. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Let me just take a smidge off. You know, I like these kind of projects where it's like you don't really have to measure. Just you know, go with it.
Yes. I was working on a video this morning, and it came to mind. I'm often encouraging people like just to jump in and go for it and use what you have. And, you know, not everyone's like into like high dive like I am when it comes to paper crafting. You know, they don't want to just jump in the deep end with it sometimes, or they're a little nervous too. And I was thinking we need to like employ the don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff and paper crafting. Like the paper has 2 sides. It can become anything that your imagination allows it to be. Or you can make a junk journal that's like a catch-all for your mistakes, and you can just put it in there.
I love that. Yeah. Just, you know. Well, the other thing that I like about the whole concept of junk journaling is that, you know, it is a great opportunity to make a little something for yourself, because so often, you know, as crafters, we like to make to give, and to share that joy, and, you know, share those handmade, you know, projects. And I feel like every once in a while, it's nice to just make something that's for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How many pages are we aiming for?
So 15 is a good number. Because you're using a thicker cardstock, you could even go a little less. So even 12 could work. But I think 15 is a good number.
Okay. This is going to be chunky. Is that 15? Yeah. Does that include the tea stain papers you just made?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So
15 total of any source that you're going for. So like for mine, I am going to use 5 pieces of tea stain paper. I'm going to use like 5 pieces of patterned paper. Okay, maybe 6. And then I'm going to use the cards and envelopes. My thrift store find from today.
That's kind of cool. I like the idea of it being a very eclectic mix of things.
Yeah. You know, it's nice to have like the page already broken, you know, and you can just come in and you can't mess it up. It's already got stuff all over it, you know.
I love that.
Do you have any, I mean, this is a hilarious question, but do you have any envelopes?
I do.
Right? You could totally add like an envelope to yours, you know, to change things up if you want to add a little something extra. So you could add an envelope if you have like doilies, if you have whatever you have, you can add. But just to give some different ideas if you want different types of paper.
And I was gonna see if I had a 5x7 envelope because that would fit really nicely.
Yes, a 5x7 would be great.
I just don't think usually I have loads at hand, but I don't at the moment. Did you already fold your tea stain papers in half?
I did. I just now did it though.
Girl.
I'm not like ahead of the curve. That's what I just did.
Hey, where did my other ones go?
They snuck away. They're like, nope, not today. This lady's crazy.
Oh, I wish Oh, where's my box of gel prints?
Ooh, that would be a great addition.
Because I always gel print onto like 8.5 by 11.
Yes, that would be perfect.
I'm just gonna stack and then fold. Did you actually bother scoring?
Not my tea dye papers, only my pattern papers.
Yeah.
Because they're a little thicker.
These aren't super duper dry, but
yeah, mine aren't like perfectly dry, but they're definitely dry enough to proceed.
Yeah. I love the crinkle, the sound of
that
crinkle.
Crunchy.
Yeah. I love it.
They are so granola. Yeah, they're great. I like it too.
Oh, Cynthia says I'm obsessed with junk journals made with cereal boxes. Yes, I remember you made a few. I think
me too.
I have yet to make pages with envelopes. Oh, do it.
Right? Yeah, especially, you know, because people like know we're card makers, sometimes we inherit things and maybe they're like envelopes that you wouldn't typically, like a size of a card you don't make, or, you know, maybe they have something on them to where like it has like a bird on it and you're like, I'm not going to be able to make a card to match that. That would be a good use, is to put it in a junk journal.
That's so funny. I'm going to step away for 1 second because I do want to grab an envelope. Okay, I'll be right back.
I'm going to hang out in the chat with you guys. I do not mean to not keep up, and I know I haven't been keeping up. I'm so sorry. Welcome back, Jay. Junk mail envelopes, totally, Kim. I have never liked using junk mail envelopes because typically when I see others using them, I have some on my desk or nearby. You know, they're collaging onto them. They like to keep the window but cover everything else, and that's always seemed way too tedious for me. But I figured out a hack yesterday, and I have a video coming out on my channel this week of how I'm going to use them now. I figured out a way around it. Okay, I'm gonna work.
Oh, I missed that. What are you figuring a way around?
So let me find some examples. So junk journal, or lots of junk journalers, which it makes perfect sense, want to reuse like the junk envelopes that they get in the mail, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But typically what they do is they take strips of paper and like keep the windows, but have to like navigate around them. And I kind of found a hack where it works for any size like windows, and doesn't matter how many there are, and you cover them like super quickly, and then you can collage on those. Mine might be able to throw one in. No, my journal's going to be a little short for that, but I've never really gotten into using them because that just wasn't something I wanted to do or spend my time doing. But now I have a way around it, so I'm super excited.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I did I think because it was such a long time ago, I did I think it was a envelope mini album to store to store photos. So like I used, everybody's got probably a scoreboard that can do this or the envelope maker, but you just make a bunch of gusseted envelopes and then it's like one of the easiest mini albums to do. But it's great because then you can it's a good way to store photos that maybe, you don't have space for in whatever scrapbook or album you're putting together. And I should probably revisit that project. I haven't made one in a while.
Yeah, I love making mini albums. I signed up for the cat scrappiness free
retreat
thing that you guys are doing. I can't remember what it's called. That was days ago, so it's already left me. But I saw your star album and I was like, I want to make that.
Oh yeah.
I cannot wait to take that class with you and see how you made that, because it's so cool because it folds up flat.
Yeah.
For mailing, but then it makes this amazing like display piece, and then you can make it so personal with like your photographs and stuff. Like, it is so cool.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you all something. Just don't tell anyone else. So there's actually another retreat that's happening in November. And you'll find out about it. I think officially it will get announced tomorrow. So, no, Monday. So I'm letting the cat out of the bag a little early. So don't. Shh, everybody. It's just between us. But there's a scrapbooking fun summit that's happening. I think last July was their first one. And they are doing it again in November. And the star album that Biddy Penny is talking about is actually, that's what I'm teaching at the Scrapbooking Fun Summit. And so my workshop for the cat scrappiness will show you how to make a photo folio, which a star album is a very souped up version of a star folio. But if you actually want to see the that specific star folio that I shared, you can join in another little summit event, and it's totally free. So
nice.
That's
Well, that's
free
exciting.
too. Yeah, so there will be a video tutorial that you can watch. Just sign up for that summit on Monday when it comes out, and you'll see me make that star album. And during the retreat, you'll see me make just a regular photo folio, but I feel like that's the kind of project that I really love because it can be as simple as you need it to be if you need something quick, but you can make a whole album out of it, and it's not that much harder in terms of the things that you're doing. You just have to do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it's just repetitive.
Yes.
But then it comes together to make something so dynamic.
Yeah. Oh, the cutter parts work so great. Now I'm jealous.
Oh, it's such a quick way to decorate.
I'm jealous. My papers don't have cutter parts.
Well, do you have a bag of ephemera somewhere that will go with your paper?
I might have to. Well, I'm going to say yes. I just don't have it at hand. So that might be something like you were advising us. Yeah, we'll just do it after as a finishing touch. So I was watching you, and I did what you were doing, just a little line of glue at the top and bottom to turn those into actual pockets.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna leave one to be a flip out.
A flip out, yeah.
And
so it sounds like we're ready to construct this.
I think
because the rest of the decoration we can do later, or after we get it constructed.
Okay.
I do want to show a couple of ways that we will decorate and fill these up.
Cool.
Okay, so what I do for construction, how I lay out my signatures is, and I said I was going to pay attention to the chat. I love you guys so much. I'm probably going to have to come back and see everything that y'all been talking about.
Me too.
Because I'm so sorry. I'm just focused on, getting this done with Lynn, but I love you guys, and I'm so glad you're here. Okay. And I hope you're taking a lot of notes. I hope you're crafting with us. Okay. So what I do, Lynn, is I set out my different types of papers, right? So now I've got cards and envelopes. I'm going to make that a pile. I've got my pattern paper, so that's going to be a pile. I'm going to keep my 2 pockets in their own pile, even though they're pattern paper, because it's, just a different kind of situation going on there. And then I have my tea dye paper. And basically, I always think of like my front, what are people going to open this to? So my front page is always really important to me, and my center page. So what will be like the center of my journal. So those are the 2 considerations that I take into account as I'm building. So we're building a single signature. And in case you guys are like, why does she keep saying signature? That is a group of papers within a book. So a book can have 15 signatures. It can have 1 signature, but it's basically just a grouping of papers. So I'm going to probably pick one of these greeting cards as my first initial. I think I'm going to pick this Believe in the Wonder of Christmas. And so I'm going to make that my first page, and then I'll take like a tea dye page and I'll put that in there. And I love that, like the tea dye is extending past the card. I always love like those, like I was saying earlier, that kind of the peekaboo moments of having pages at different lengths. So now I've got a greeting card. I've got our faux tea dye. I've got a pattern paper, and I just keep mixing it up. I'll throw an envelope in there for fun next. And I'm going to do some different things with the envelopes. They're not all going to be sewn into my signature, but I will sew in a couple.
Okay. Are we stacking like everything in?
Yes.
Oh, this is a fat signature.
Oh yeah. Yes, this is going to be a very chunky little journal.
Yeah, this is going to be chunky.
Which is fun.
Oh, I need to make a centerfold. That's weird to say, but
this guy. I get you.
No, because I want to do double-sided paper for my centerfold.
Yeah. See, those are the kinds of things I really do like to take into consideration.
Yeah. Boop, boop. Okay. I'm right here with you. I just need to do one more paper.
And if it feels like it's getting too chunky, then just take pages out. You know what I mean? Like
it's pretty darn chunks.
Don't feel too forced into anything,
But it's good. The tip that you gave earlier to work with like about half an inch more narrow than your cover is good, because it's still all gonna fit.
Excellent.
So we're good. Let's see. Yeah, I echo Biddy Penny's sentiments about the chat. So sorry. We're usually very good, about
yeah,
about engaging with you all in the chat. And I did see a question somebody asked about Lineco pH neutral glue and whether the tan or beige label is the same as the black label. Do you happen to know? It's my favorite glue, but I don't know.
I always go to this one. I had ordered the other one before. There is another label, and I just didn't like it as much as I liked this one. I don't think it's inferior. I think it was a consistency thing for me, and I was already like totally adjusted to this label. So it's the one that I use. I use the beige label. But I think
interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's what I happen to have too. I didn't know there was a black label.
Yeah. What I remember is that I think it was a little more liquidy, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know what the purpose, like, I don't know what they designed it to do. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure.
I think that actually might be a batch issue.
It might be.
Because literally this is, I think, the same as what you're using, the pH neutral PVA glue. And I know between orders, sometimes like this particular bottle is a little bit more liquidy. But I've bought the exact same like packaging and everything, and it's I've gotten ones that are a little bit thicker.
I've definitely noticed too that the longer you have it like in your bottle and probably open and using it, it thickens up. Like when you get a brand new bottle, it seems really liquidy, and I think it's important to shake it really well before you fill your smaller bottles, and that helps. So there's a few things that to take into consideration with that.
That's a really good tip, because every time you go to use it, I would, or refill, like decant it, I would do that, shake it. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so I think I'm cutting mine off. Let me see how many pages I ended up putting in.
Oh, yours looks so fun. I love the holiday.
Oh, thanks. So this one has 14 pages, which is plenty. Like, I think this would be great for like an Advent journal. That would be more than enough to have a page for every day. You'd have like almost 2 pages for every day, a spread. So I think this would be perfect for like an Advent. So I'm going to cut mine off at 14 pages. See, no rules. And leave it there. After I get my pages in, you guys, is I flip through for a few reasons. I want to make sure that I have everything upright. So that's important. And that I like the flow. Like, I like the way it feels. I think it's balanced, you know, and so I like to flip through and make sure that I like the balance between the colors on the pages and that it feels good. So
I love that it's like back to basics, make sure everything's upright.
Yes. I cannot tell you. I mean, so many times I sew a signature in upside down, or one page would be upright, or most of the pages would be upright, but one would be upside down. I mean, it happens. So then the next thing I do is, because I like pages at varying heights and such, I'm going to make sure that I don't want to take this and, you know, your inclination might be to tap everything down, right?
That's just what I did. Literally, the chat's probably like laughing. But in my defense, everything I have is, that's not true. All of my papers are the same height.
So that is a good thing, right? So tap it down if they're all the same height. But if you have variations, don't tap it down. Fix your height of your pages as you're doing that initial flip through. So if you want this card justified to the bottom and not in the center, do that when you're doing your flip through, and get everything kind of orientated exactly where you want it. That's if you have different heights. But yeah, if they're all the same height, then you did the right thing. I think tapping it down and getting them all, you know, squared up is a great thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just my envelopes that are different, but otherwise,
you can adjust those before you sew it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so once I make sure, okay, so I've got everything upright. She feels good. It's got the right flow. It's balanced. It's all good. Then what I do is I take and I make sure that my pages are really in that crease and really well situated against the spine of my cover. I want to make sure it's all very, like, I'm pushing down very hard and making sure that it's in there. And then I'm also making sure that on the height of my journal that it's not like overextending on the top or bottom, but it has a nice balance between the top and the bottom of the cover. So I'm getting them situated. Basically, this is I think a big part of the process, and a really important part of the process. So like, there's not rules in junk journaling, but when it comes to the structure of your journal, I think that's when paying particular attention is important, and it'll pay off. You'll be happy that you did.
Mm-hmm.
So then I grabbed these really fancy bag clips that are from like the chip aisle of my grocery store. I just like them. And now that I have it like situated from the top and bottom of my cover, I have my pages exactly where I want them. I have tucked it really tightly into the spine. That's when I clip them to the cover.
Okay.
I think the more clips you use,
sewing clips.
Yeah, anything will do that'll hold those pages together. I feel like for my success in sewing and signatures, the more secure you have this to your cover, the better success you will have. Because once your holes start shifting on you and you're trying to stitch things in, it's just complicated. You want it really secure in there. But here's where I will stop real quick and say that you don't have to sew it all. So if you don't have a needle and an awl, and you don't have thread, like for sewing, like a waxed linen thread or anything for bookbinding, don't let that stop you from making this project. Because if you have any kind of ribbon or fabric or even elastic, it makes a great
Oh,
way
do you want? I can demonstrate that if you want me to do that version, so you can.
No worries. We can sew it in. I just was going to show them real quick, because I can basically demonstrate it really quick and they'll get it. And then we can sew in and they'll get two different ways. So, this is Dollar Tree ribbon. You just take your ribbon. I do like a satin ribbon for this, or seam binding or whatever. But you just basically take it and tie it in a knot, and you have actually got a journal. And what's fun about this is called a flowish journal. And what's fun is that then you can rearrange your papers, you can add in papers, and it's always like flexible to whatever you want your journal to be. It's a very fun way to journal, to memory keep, and to not get stressed out about sewing signatures in. So all you would do is just tie a ribbon or a piece of elastic through here, around, tie it in a bow, and your construction would be done at that point. But Len and I are going to sew.
Yep. And I did see, Jay, I saw your question about PVA and line coat. So line coat is a PVA glue.
Right.
It stands for like polyvinyl, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of different PVA glues on the market, and why line coat is so special to some of us who love it is that it is it's actually like acid free, archival safe, and all that good stuff. So it's good for album making.
It's a professional glue that's used for making books. And I use it for all of my paper crafting. I use it for all of my card making, for everything. And it is so inexpensive compared to a lot of the others. And I think most of the glues that all of y'all use are like PVA. PVA is a pretty typical glue, but these is a pH neutral. So I can get this big bottle for like $10. It's 16 ounces.
Yep. And that's exactly why I like it too, because it's so much more affordable than, folks, that's like a lot of things in the craft industry. Just letting you know, there are a lot of things in other industries that are the same or similar or better. And they
don't
just
cost
don't
as much.
have the same price tag. So you just need
Yeah.
to shop around a little bit because other industries price things differently for their
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
So, shop around a little bit. The big difference, generally speaking, between like a good PVA glue, there's a few things between that and like a craft glue. One, generally, not to say it's always the case, but generally a lot of craft glues have a high water content.
Yes.
And so that's why they're not as quick grabbing. They don't, they have more potential to warp your papers. And that's generally what people are looking to avoid in a lot of their projects. For something like this, maybe not so much because, that lends just a different texture and whatnot. But if you are also looking for things for album making and anything that might touch photos, you do want something that's archival safe and acid free. And given the fact that Blanco pH neutral is made for bookbinders, like you're gonna find all of that, those properties. But PVA is just lots of brands make it.
Yes.
Like this is a PVA glue from Nuvo. Really, that's the only time like I have glues from other companies is when I get them in like kits.
Right. Yeah, I've been using PVA for, I guess, the last 4 years, and there's just kind of like no turning back now. I mean, I will use others. I absolutely will, but it is my go-to. I did recently pick up this Craft Bond just to try it out. I kind of want to try it with fabrics and stuff, because I want to see if I can
Girl,
reduce how
you and
much I
I are
use
like
fabric pack.
twinsies. Have you tried these? These are they're pretty good. It's Craft Bond, Elmer's,
Oh, I
but
haven't
it's
tried
a
that
glue
one.
stick.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Decently
let
good.
me go through this the signature real quick, you guys. Okay, so I've got this wax linen thread, and I am going to measure it 3 lengths of my journal. Okay, so this is my journal upright. Yes. I'm going to turn it on the side though for you guys. I'm going to measure it 3 lengths of this. So 1, 2, 3. 3 is kind of the magic number to where you don't get your pages almost sewn in and then realize you don't have enough thread to tie a knot.
Wouldn't that suck?
Been there. Yeah.
So do 3 and a little extra, folks.
Yeah, and you can always trim it off, but you can't add it on,
Yeah.
right? So, and I will tell you, if this is like a hobby that you want to try and you've already got all the paper, but you just don't have an all you need to sew the signatures in is a needle, an awl, and thread. To start, you could use like embroidery floss. You can use
Yeah,
a lot
that's
twine that you have maybe for your cards and stuff. But to invest in these, you can get a kit on Amazon for like $7.99 that comes with everything you need. Like this one came with an awl. It came with all these extra goodies for like $7-8, and it comes with a bunch of thread and everything.
yeah.
And it's not a huge investment.
Yeah, some things to look for if you're looking for some of these. I don't have my awl at hand, so I'm just going to use a pokey tool.
Oh yeah, that'll totally work. That's
Yeah,
all you
but
need is to poke a hole.
yeah, look for I know this might seem strange, but look for leather
Yes.
making kits. A lot of these same supplies, they transfer because the wax threads, you can get like little chunk of wax too to run through your because that's what I've done sometimes too is run my just plain cheap embroidery floss through like a chunk of wax.
Yep.
And that just helps to I just don't happen to have that at hand, but that helps to slicken it for one so that for one because it helps to kind of get that through without it braiding your thread, and it just adds a little bit of extra strength to something that's kind of cheap like an embroidery floss. And
Yeah.
so
I got this at the Dollar Tree, like
oh cool, twine. Is that like
yeah,
a bigger
twine like a month ago. I mean, it's got yard like this would last you probably years.
oh that's awesome.
There's so much to it, and this would be a great candidate for the waxing, but you don't even have to wax it. Like if it's your first one, just don't get caught up in the things. Just do the process.
Have you done like a hand sewn journal? It's so much fun. Like a book, like a proper book. It's not that far from this.
Right. So like into a hardcover?
Yeah, because I've done like making your own like little fabric cover and all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just kind of stumbled upon this when I was making for a craft fair 2 years ago. I started like collaging with my scraps onto paper and making covers out of that. And it's kind of been like no looking back, but I still have so many covers and I do want to make them. But like I think a lot of times I'm always trying to reach the beginner. And so I feel like this is like the gateway into junk journaling where you don't have to, because a lot of people aren't comfortable taking a book apart. They're not going to dissect a book, and I get it. I respect it. So this is a way that you don't have to do that. You don't have to tear pages out and you don't have to compromise.
Yeah. I've never done that, but I've done like the proper like old school making an actual hardcover book. And
with like chipboard and paper and
yeah, and then like doing the multiple signatures and stacking them and sewing through them. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So it looks like you're going to measure your holes. That's so sweet. I'm just going to poke holes wherever. So I'm just going to poke one that looks kind of like it's in the middle of the book. And then I'm going to poke one that looks like it's about an inch below the top of the book and about an inch above the bottom of the book.
Okay. So we're doing 3 holes?
3-hole stitch. Yes.
Okay. You're so funny. Don't call me out like that, baby.
That's so sweet.
You're like Lynn. Add structure to everything. Go with it.
No, we are all like, I love it though, because there are millions of people that would want to measure just like you. Like, I totally get it. And I love single signature journals because I don't have to make templates. You know what I mean? For the multiples. I enjoy the process when I sit down to make those. I really do. But like, I love just throwing these together.
Oh, it's so funny. Oops. Did I go too far? No.
So once you have your 3 holes, you guys, the next thing for sewing is that you're going to decide if you want a bow. It doesn't have to be a bow, but do you want your knot on the inside of your journal or do you want it on the outside of your journal? So for this one, I'm going to have mine on the inside of my journal. And so I'm going to start on the inside. And that's kind of how that works. Wherever you start is where you will end with the stitch. So one thing, because we have a nice long thread, what you can do and what I've been known to do is clip the end in with my clip here like this. And it just helps hold it so I don't pull it through.
Oh, that's so smart.
And yeah, I don't forget to hold it with my finger. It doesn't get pulled through. It just stays in that clip for the most part.
That's a good tip. I'm not there yet. Still making my holes.
I love what Susan said. She says, I love it watching the different styles of your crafting. I'm usually a Lynn, but when I'm rushing, I'm a Bitty Penny. I love that, Susan. Yes. Like, we don't have to be one way, right? We can be all the ways. I was having a conversation with someone, a stranger, the other day, and we were talking, and I told him, like, I like to think that we're just like all patches in a quilt, and like all of our differences and all the things that make us who we are adds color to the quilt, and it adds a different like design to the quilt, but we're all in this together, even with our differences. So I feel the same way in our crafty community. Like there's room for everyone
Yeah.
here.
Aw. That's so beautifully said.
We're a quilt.
We're a quilt.
A beautiful quilt.
Yeah. And I think just to extend on that, often I hear a lot of folks say they started quilts and they just have never finished it. And I think that's okay if we are a bit unfinished too.
Yes.
We're all like a work in progress.
Oh, that's for
I'm
sure.
constantly evolving. All right, I'm right there with you, my friend.
Okay, you ready?
I got my needle in the middle hole.
Okay, perfect. So then you'll come on the outside back through, and you can pick the top or the bottom, but you're going to come back through. And so when I was talking so adamantly about this being super secure, you're going to struggle to, even though you lined your pages up and made your holes and you only made 3 holes, if you don't have these secure, it's going to be hard to find those holes through those 15 sheets of paper. So I make it look easy, and that's not anything that I'm doing special, but it's because I have these anchored so tightly. And so it makes it easy for me to find these holes. So now I've come from here on the outside back in. Now I'm going to go back through the middle again. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure your signature is tight. You don't want to pull so tight that you're ripping the holes of your paper. Like you don't want to make them wider and compromise the integrity of your hole in your pages, but you want it tight enough that you don't have loose threads anywhere. So now I'm checking that and I'm like, okay, yeah, it looks good on the inside. It looks good on the outside. I'm going to now take my needle. I'm going to go through the top hole.
Or whatever your remaining hole is.
Right. If you went from the top first, then you would go to the bottom, but the remaining hole, I'm going to come back through now.
And I'm guessing I would also want to say to folks, as you're re-entering the middle hole, try not to split your thread.
Absolutely, because you won't be able to pull it taut. You won't be able to really work with it at all if you split your thread at any point in this process. Okay, so now I'm checking again, and this is nice and tight. And now I'm gonna release my clip from holding it. And now I'm gonna work with it and really make sure it's tight. I still have my needle and thread together. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it underneath that bottom piece there, and I'm going to tighten these pieces together.
Say what now?
I know. So let me redo that. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to say it, actually. So
at least you're using black thread. I can actually see what you're doing.
Good. Okay.
Don't let me, folks. Look at Bitty Penny.
Okay. So I've got it through the top hole now, but you can see I don't have that line there.
Yep.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to loop it under this bottom thread down here. That's on the bottom half of our page.
Okay, got that.
I'm going to go underneath that so that it kind of catches. I'm going to make sure everything's nice and tight.
Okay.
Pulling on both ends. And kind of what I've created now is this way to keep it like looped together. I'm going to check the back side, make sure those are nice and tight. At this point, I am keeping it very taut, very tight.
You're holding your free end, right? Your tail?
Yes, I am at this point now.
Okay. Got it.
So now I'm going to tie it in a double knot.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I tie it twice. And then I'm going to tie it an opposite way, which my brain always has to work overtime to figure out how. Because, you like get muscle memory and you're like, okay, this is how I tie a knot. And then you have to tie it in reverse. Hurts your head. Hurts my head, I should say. Now, from there, you can just snip these really close and not have anything else showing. But I like to have a bow. So I'm going to have like a little bow there.
Okay. So you're totally off your needle now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Once I start tying the knot, I have removed the needle from the thread.
Got it. This was cool.
How's it feeling? How's it going? It's looking good.
I think it's good because I made it. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Now that makes it awesome. Okay, I'm gonna take all my clips off and see,
Oh, I already did that.
and see, make sure that it's not shifting. If it's shifting up and down, it's not tight enough. And I'm sorry, you're gonna have to redo it. But if it's not shifting and it's nice and tight, then you're good to go. So mine is, how's yours feeling? Nice and tight in the signature? Not shifting?
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. You have a journal. I have a journal too.
Hey, and we just hit the 2-hour mark. And I know there's like a lot of chat, so.
Yeah, it's not bad, right?
So yeah, pretty fast. Hey, look at that, folks.
I want to just quickly show you guys some ideas with these pages. So here on my pocket page, because I did trim it down the middle, I do need to sew. I mean, you don't have to, but I am going to sew this into, or not sew, but glue this into a pocket. I know you can't see what I'm talking about, but this piece here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to glue on this side here. Okay. So now that's a legitimate pocket.
Nice.
What I want to show y'all real quick before we go, I don't know, you know, we might need to be wrapping up, but is how to use some of those cutoff pieces, those maybe scraps that we created. It's like, I think everybody wants to use their stash, but then they get a little nervous when they start having scraps, I think, and it's okay. Like, we'll use them. So don't worry, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I find with like people who venture into like I love making 5x7 cards, but I think a lot of people are nervous to do it because they don't want to feel like they're wasting paper if they're only getting one card base from one sheet and not more.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It's some feedback that I've gotten. And so I try to be cognizant of that, but we're going to use our scraps.
Yeah. And I think projects like these are a really great way to just use everything up because it doesn't need to all be uniform. Like you were saying, a lot of the charm is when it's not.
Right. It doesn't all have to be the same paper collection.
Right.
It doesn't all have to be so.
Yeah. So I love that.
So when we were chatting, I was thinking about using like this card would make a really cute cover piece. Obviously, I'm going to have to lose some of the imagery there, but that's okay. So I think that that's exactly how I would use this is on the cover. And then I was telling y'all that I was going to save some of the envelopes and cards for the not to sew them into the signature, but to use them elsewhere in the journal. So what you can do is if you have like a regular journal and all you put in it, let's just say was 8.5 by 11 sheet of papers folded in half, you can come back later with like an envelope and glue it over the edge.
How fun.
Right? And add your envelope in after the fact. It doesn't have to be sewn in to the signature. So I'm going to take this one and I'm just going to glue a little bit down on the edge and a little bit. I'm going to make a like a tuck spot out of it too, basically.
Oh, cool. I've got envelopes that have the lick, you know. So I'm just gonna use that and glue it to some more pattern paper. Just so that it doesn't accidentally glue down to my opposite edge for any reason.
Yes, that could happen, right? With like humidity and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I get nervous about that kind of thing too. And this one's a little long. Let's see.
So that's another way to kind of use up your scraps is just like, you know, just stick them onto something else that's in here.
Yes, absolutely. I think it'd be fun to make a really blank, like basic journal, and make it your scrap journal. And when you get done with something, you can decorate those plain pages with your scraps.
Yeah, I love that idea.
And it'd be kind of a way to chronicle like the different collections you've worked with or whatever.
Yeah, I like that because then you're kind of almost memorializing,
Uh-huh.
stuff
And then you
that,
don't have to feel bad about busting your stash, right? You don't have to be so precious about it because you'll have mementos in it in your journal
yeah.
of the collections that you can't get anymore or whatever.
I'm still not using that paper pad.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't either.
I'm glad you said something.
Yes. Yes. For anyone who doesn't know, Tim Holtz does not make 12 by 12 paper pads anymore. So if you have one and you love and adore it, you might want to keep it or put it in a junk journal. I don't know, because they don't make them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, Bitty Penny had me kind of just show her what I was thinking about using, and I bring out this like Tim Holtz. I think it's Wildflower or something. It's a 12 by 12 paper pad by Tim Holtz, and she's like, "Oh, you don't know what you have there. You can't buy that anymore,
Yeah.
Like, not at all."
Yeah.
So
I kind of made a goopy mess on this, so I'm going to fix it by gluing something on top of it.
there you go.
That's the beauty of this.
Yeah. Oh, okay, everybody. So sorry that we've been so neglectful of the chat.
Yes.
But to just reiterate, we love you.
Yes, we do. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna take responsibility for that because this is the first junk journal I've ever made, and I know Bitty Penny really wanted to make sure that she was holding my hand as as we were doing this, and so she's been very good about like just kind of making sure step by step I knew what I was doing. So she hasn't been watching the chat, and I'm clueless as to what we're doing, so I haven't been watching the chat either. But thank you. Oh, we have a question. Okay, yeah. Perfect. I'm gonna pay attention now. So throw your questions in before we wrap up, and let's pick Bitty Penny's brain. So yes. Trisha would like to know, can you just scan it and use the scanned pages instead?
For like, you want to scan your scrapbook paper and use that instead? Is that the question?
Possibly. I would say regardless of what you're asking about specifically, I would say yes.
You could use it if you weren't selling it, right? But you couldn't scan the paper and use it and then sell it, because that would be infringing on their copyrights.
Oh, well, that's a good point. Yes. And in general, you do want to make sure that you do understand people's angel policies with anything that you make to sell. But yes, she was referring to like for preserving, I guess, the papers that you love.
I know.
If it's just for personal projects, feel free.
If it's for your scrappy journal because you love and adore that paper, yes, you could do that. Most certainly.
Yep. Question from Megan. What is a cinch? Do you want to take that one?
I will let you. You have the little mini cinch, right? Because you can show it off. Do you have it available?
Well, yeah. Hold on. Let me grab it.
Well, she's grabbing that, you guys. I'm going to be walking y'all through different ways to kind of decorate these pages real quick. So right now I'm taking one of these greeting cards that I did not sew in, and I'm going to use some washi tape. Junk journals are a great place to use up that hoard of washi tape that you guys might have.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can, what's called tip in. So basically you can tip in pages, and that is not a junk journaling term, but that is like an old book term. That you can tip in pages by just, putting some, I always reinforce my washi tape with glue. But I put some glue with this washi tape and I'm tipping it in. And now what this card can actually do is flip up.
Oh,
And I could
cool.
put like private journaling in here or a picture in here, but then I can also open it and have it this way too. So that's called a tip in. Okay, please show them the cinch while I go.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so cinch, there's when people say cinch, they're referring to that's like the product name from We Are Memory Keepers. Essentially, it's their product line that is made for binding a notebook or a book. And so you can find different products that do the same thing. And so don't feel like you have to get their brand of thing. But basically, what the tool allows you to do is punch holes like that with this lever. And then once you have the holes, you can actually loop it through wires. So you can make a spiral bound notebook. And then on the opposite end, down on this end here, you have your wire loop that is metal, but it's a thin enough metal that when you push down on this again, it actually cinches the open ends close, which then completes your spiral bound notebook. And the cinch brand, that particular one has a specific spacing that's called a 2-to-1 pitch. So there are two loops, two spirals for every 1 inch. And if you go and look at other binding tools, they might have a different pitch. And so you just want to be cognizant of that because you can use wires from any brand in the specific We Are Memory Keepers cinch, so long as it's 2-to-1. The cinch has a mini, and you'll notice that this is actually called a disc cinch. And so they're saying it's a cinch, but it's not a wire bound cinch. It's actually for disc bound notebooks. And so this punches mushroom holes. And
Think
it
happy
is,
planner.
yeah, if you are familiar with happy planners and the round plastic discs that has the ability for you to remove the pages, this will punch holes for that. And their latest in the cinch product line is their like they have like a hot swappable cinch that basically, I think it's the mini size like this, and it has 4 holes, but this part here, the actual hole punch, the metal that punches the holes, you can swap in different patterns and different types of holes, different spacing of holes for different types of projects. So there's, you can put in a disc one, you can put in a circular one for spiral bound. Some people like square holes for their spiral bound notebooks. They have them for sewing also. So there's holes for what Biddy Penny just showed that we could do by hand. So there's a lot of different things on the market, and so that is the cinch. Another question from Tumbling Tangles: does it matter if you poke the hole for the 3-hole pamphlet stitch from the inside or from the outside? Oh, better question for that's a better question for you, Joey.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I mean, I've never seen it done the other way because I just think it's easier because you're using like, I don't know, like the momentum. It's like once you have your pages in and it's clipped together but not sewn together, it's harder to then, like, I don't know how you would do it at that point. You'd have to have this completely flat. And yeah, I think you really need to go from the inside. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I haven't seen it done before. That's a good question. Like, that's an excellent question. I wanted to encourage y'all. So these are the strips that I cut off, my scraps from this project so far. You could make belly bands out of these. So that's what I'm going to do next. You can also make like side pockets or bottom pockets. So like I can take these stockings or whatever. I decided on the green one. I can leave it wide like this, which I will, just for the sake of speed. And because it doesn't matter, your belly band, it can go from top to bottom of your page. You can have a belly band across the middle of your page. This is always fun if you want to hang like a card over it or something like that. But I'm going to go top because we already have this tuck spot here. And
yeah, and I kind of feel like the more you don't think about it,
yes,
the better it's going to end up being, because I do feel like part of the charm of these is how eclectic it is.
absolutely.
So, okay, I'm glad I'm not saying anything you don't agree with.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I'm a big person on whimsy. And, you know, I love whimsical and I love eclectic. So I think that's one reason why I'm just like so into it, you know? And because there are no rules and there's so many ideas. And if you are a hardcore card maker and you're like, I don't know, I love Lynn, so I'm like watching her video. This lady's crazy. I'm telling you, like, this lends itself, like, you will try new things in card making you haven't done before. You know what I mean? Like, it really just kind of opens the Pandora's box of possibilities with your paper.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I really like your suggestion of, make this your home for your scraps.
Yeah. All those favorite papers, because then you'll actually chop them up and use them.
Yeah.
If you know that you have a home to cherish them forever.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Okay, so Tumbling Tangles has said that the problem she runs into when she pokes from the inside, I guess, is that paper pokes out of the spine when I go from the inside. Well, you can do what I did actually, which is a little bit of both. I poke from the inside to get started because it's often easier to like maintain the stack that way, as like Bitty Penny showed. And then when it's just making its way through to the other side to where I can at least see it, I just poke from the outside in. Because then like all of the holes are all the pages are poked through, or at least started, and then you can just go from the outside, and then you don't have, because I hear what you're saying, like then you have that burst of paper coming through onto your outside cover. So if you want to avoid that, you can just poke it through enough so that it's just piercing, so you can actually see where it ended up on the outside, and then just punch your hole or use your pokey tool or your awl and go from the outside. And you wouldn't have to go all the way through because it's already been started from the other side.
So Angela, you don't like it when you poke through the center, then you're forcing all the paper through, and then what you get is the paper poking out. That's the okay. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Well, I will say that a lot of times I end up putting like sari silk or seam binding, or like with these journals, a lot of times I come back and reinforce my spine with fabric too. So this is constructed exactly the way you and I did today. The only added thing is that I put fabric on, and on this one I sewed my signature in after the fabric. Don't recommend. I really do recommend that you sew like we did here and then adhere your fabric, because coming through like upholstery fabric with a needle is not the most fun that you can have in your craft.
So then just glue your fabric
on afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that I think that is also, well, I guess my paper is white core, so I hear you on that, because you might not want to see the white core.
Yeah, I get it. I do.
That makes sense.
Aesthetically, I understand what you're saying, but I think there's ways around it. I just don't know construction wise, like how to pull it off. You know what I mean? The other way.
Yeah. I mean, mine's not that visible, so you could try what I did. Just start on the inside, get it mostly through to where it's just like just starting to come out on the outside, and then just go from outside in and see if that works. And then if not, just cover it up.
Yeah, right. So here I'm going to make a really simple pocket. I'm almost done, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
But here I'm going to make a really simple pocket. And this is the card, right? The back of the card that has like the greeting.
Oh, cool.
And I just thought, well, I can put a pocket there, which is really fun.
Yeah.
And so my secret with pockets is the side that you don't want to glue is what you hold. So on this one, though, I'm only going to glue two sides. I'm going to glue the side on this side of the page and on this side of the page.
That's literally what I just did.
Awesome.
Yeah. So these are nice little tuck spots for if you have ephemera, you can do this with ephemera too. And if you wanted to use this for memory keeping and putting photos, little tuck spots like these are good as like photo corners almost. So you can use it
absolutely
like that too.
Absolutely. And it can go, I always like to put some at the top of my pages too. Like it can go on the top of your page as well.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So yeah, like so many possibilities. And I'm like you, like I don't trust the glue and the gum on the back of this envelope. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue that down.
Oh, cool.
It'll just add interest and it's fine. People can still, decorate that page and use that page.
And I know we didn't get to it, but I know there's so much more you can do to decorate these pages, like stenciling onto them. And
yes.
So I'm going to just continue to work at mine and pull out some stencils, and because I don't use these near enough either. So
I know,
this has been so much fun.
Are a great way. Like if you were here at the beginning, well, first of all, bless your heart. You've been hanging out with us a long time.
Yeah.
But if you were here at the beginning, Len and I were doing the faux tea dye on our paper. But if you want to skip that step, you can just stencil on your paper too. I've done that. It's gorgeous. So you can take your plain copy weight paper and just, stencil on it. And make it not plain white anymore.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do that for a lot of the envelopes because I have plain white envelopes.
Nice.
So yeah, I think I want to do that for those. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for teaching us all about the world of junk journaling and just sharing with us all of these new ways to use our stash. Just use what we have. Don't feel like you have to rush out and buy anything. So I love that you give us lots of alternatives for the things that we can be doing and the things we can use. If we don't have all the specific things that you use today. So I think that's really awesome. That's an important thing to remember too. It's just that regardless of what you see designers using, especially for, from many of us who are on design teams, I know we're sharing a lot of stuff and we're sharing all the new latest and greatest. And, but that doesn't mean you have to go out and buy all those things. Take inspiration from whatever you're seeing us use and use what you have. So
yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to show a real simple closure real quick. So we were making chunky little journals here today, and this one doesn't even have any pictures in it yet. It doesn't have any of the things yet. So it's just going to keep growing. All the envelopes are still empty. All the pockets are still empty. So eventually, it's just going to get chunky. I like this as an option. So I just take bulldog clips, right? And I clip one on the front and I clip one on the back. And then I just take ribbon, twine, whatever, and I will tie it through and create a closure that is, of course, not permanent. But what's fun about this is that it's completely customizable and adjustable. So as your journal grows, you just don't tie the bow as tight every time.
How
So let me
clever
show
is
y'all
that?
this. I came up with this a couple of years ago and I just love it. It's like my go-to. So like as she grows, right, you can tie it looser, and while you journal, you can completely remove it really easily, which is also nice. So it's not like getting in your way of like journaling,
Oh yeah.
but it's just a way to keep it closed. And so what I would do is just unclip it instead of untying it every time. And I'll untie it and adjust it just as needed as my journal grows. Otherwise, I just take it and clip it right back on every time to keep it closed.
That's so cool. Especially since like we were talking about quilts and stuff. Like I love the idea that it doesn't have to ever be finished. So
Yes.
I
It's
think that
always a work of progress.
yeah,
Work in progress.
and I think sometimes like I don't know, sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming to like finish, you know, a mini album or you know what I mean, like to complete a project, and we all have so many things that are works in progress.
Yes.
But if it's intentionally designed to be a work in progress, then you don't have that pressure of trying to actually finish it, right? So
Right. Like we're powering through here today because this is essentially like junk journaling 101. And I wanted y'all to see that it doesn't have to be a project that it does take forever. And, like you can get the journal put together quickly. I like to do them on my channel as well and lives and show people like, hey, you can make this in an hour. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And like you can have, like you're saying, well, you can have the bones of the journal in an hour, but then you work on it for weeks, months, filling it up, doing whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
totally fun.
That's the beauty of a lot of this, right? It's just that you just go with the flow. It's not meant to be like a stressful kind of
Not at all.
stressful kind of thing. So I think that's
Walk away if you get stressed out, please.
yeah. Oh, that's a good
Step
point.
away from the junk journal.
Yeah. Crafting should not be stressful.
Right?
So I think just have fun with it, and that's the whole point of it of crafting. If it's not bringing you joy, then I really feel like put it down, step away from it for a little bit, and maybe come back to it whenever. There's there's no rules, but some of us find that a little bit hard.
Right.
So
there's no rules other than make sure you're having fun. That's the only rule.
Yeah, that's the one rule. Make sure you're having fun. And this has been a blast. I think it's really
had so much fun with you. I hope everyone in the chat has had fun hanging out with us as well. I know it's been a slightly different kind of live and different experience, but we are glad you're here. Without you, it wouldn't be a party. I mean, I think Lynn and I might party, but it's always better with y'all here.
That's true. We get chatty when we see. That's the problem when it's just us, I think.
Yeah, we need a panel of people to keep us on track. We need a moderator who can like read the questions.
I know,
right? Like help us stay.
I think what makes it a little bit challenging as well is that this is such an engrossing process.
Yeah.
When you start, folks, it's seriously very fun. And literally, and Biddy Penny knew this going in. I've never made one before. So she, 101 it down for us.
Yes.
Which
absolutely.
I appreciate. So I really hope that if you were watching that you didn't feel ignored by us, because it was really just
That's not our
me.
intention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was me needing the baby steps, and Biddy Penny being kind enough to accommodate that.
Yeah, I hope that, even everyone who will catch this later in the replay, will have essentially had like a full-fledged 101 class, and that, hopefully you guys can come back and even revisit it. Maybe you're not able to craft with us now, or maybe you got started but couldn't complete like as far as you wanted, that this will be like a resource for you to come back to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, because this has been so, like, foundational.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, this is a lovely comment. Tumbling Tangle says, "Biddy Penny, I made my first one from your video of using a paper lunch sack as a cover."
Yes. Awesome. Angela, I love that. Yeah, you can use anything. Absolutely anything.
So Letty wants to know, Toby, what do you have left over from that new 12 by 12 pack you started with?
Hey, Smash Queen. Letty, my Smash Queen. I have journaling cards, which, I mean, I've got lots of pockets. They're not full yet. So I've got journaling cards, but maybe not too many. So I can go through and just throw a bunch of these in. And then all I have left after I get these in are the stickers.
Wow, you did good.
So this is all I have left.
That's impressive.
Yeah, whoops, I hit my camera. So,
Hey, girl.
but these two could totally, I could use these up in the journal by, putting them on the pages, or I could gift it with the journal.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Yeah. So good question, Letty.
It's for all you paper collectors, not the H word. This is a wonderful way to use up those papers, like Penny Penny was saying, and as well, they make for great gifts. But use up your papers, because then you can buy more.
Yeah.
Guilt-free. You can buy more guilt-free if you tend to feel guilt about that sort of stuff. Some of us are unabashed about our shopping, so that's
what's awesome is this, once you get into it, this makes a great gift too. Like,
yeah,
I've just made something that I could legitimately give to someone as a very nice Christmas gift. I could give it, I have a friend who has an October birthday, and I always give her Christmas cards, handmade Christmas cards, because she sends a ton of them.
Aww.
And she really appreciates it, because like they're ready for her by November that way. And, it's a way for me to love and use my stash at the same time.
Yeah.
I also had this card, Letty.
Oh, that's cute.
So let me put that in there.
That's a big truck.
I loved it because it like matched the paper pad so perfectly. Yeah. And it came in that thrift store bag.
Oh, Gladys says, "I will create one after this." Oh, wonderful. Yes. Yay. Create them and share them to the group, and that way we can all see what you've made. And, I would love that. I should also mention about my group. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you don't already know, I do have a community group on Facebook. There's a link to it. And if you feel inspired by Biddy Penny, and who isn't? You're so inspirational and so encouraging.
You're so sweet.
Do create one and share it to that group. That way we can check it out, and then you can spread that inspiration. So
yeah,
you are a fast crafter, my friend. Oh my gosh. Yours looks gorgeous.
Well, this just goes to show that, those kits that we get and we think, oh, that's for card making. You can actually make a really nice junk journal with that in an hour or two, the same amount of time you would spend making your cards.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true.
You know,
And I
um,
I have to say, I didn't believe you when you said we could do this in an hour and a half, and I fully believe if we weren't chatting, we would have. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so
absolutely. I know they come together really quite quickly. It's awesome.
yeah.
So I want to see yours, Lynn. Do you mind doing a flip through?
Oh yeah, so I can do that.
Do you have a way of spotlighting yours so we can see it big, or
I guess it's not. I think well, okay, yeah, we'll flip through mine and then we'll flip through yours so that yours is the lasting image.
you're so funny. Yours is a work in progress.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy with it. And to be honest, when you were talking about giving it away, I do often like to give away the things that I make during my streams, but I'm not going to give this one away because I feel like it's a good memory of this experience with you, Bitty Penny. So I'm going to keep this for myself. So sorry, folks.
Next time.
Sorry, but not sorry. Okay. So I did use for the cover, I did use one of the Tim Holtz papers because it's just so pretty.
Yes.
But I did do like a hodgepodge of papers from different collections from I think they are all die cuts with a view. So
nice.
I
Look
just
at your paper, that your faux tea dye paper.
Isn't that fun? I just love the crinkle.
I know. It's fabulous.
So thank you. And it really is fast. And the thing is that when you look at it just as a page, it feels like kind of, underwhelming. But then, I'm having fun pulling out my stencils and adding like a little extra stuff, to the envelopes, to these pages, even to the pattern papers as well. So I think it's one of those things that if you're just looking, maybe you're in a little bit of a creative slump even, I feel like this is a fun thing to just do because you don't really have to think about what you're doing, and it might actually get your creative juices flowing. Just pull out some different things and have a bit of a play. I just love this sound.
I know, that crunchy sound is so fun. Yeah. I love the stenciling that you did.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've had those stencils for like years, and then my inside front and back covers are pockets. So yeah, so that's mine.
I love it. Do not be critical of yourself. How many junk journals have you made before?
Exactly.
Can you remind everyone who's tuning in?
I've made in total, including this one, I've made a grand total of 1.
Okay, there we go. Hats off. You did phenomenal. And I have to say, like, even though I was trying to give you the kind of the 101, the lowdown, you were able to follow so perfectly.
Well, I mean, credit to you, my friend. You're a fabulous teacher. So
oh, thank you. Thank you. No, I absolutely love it. I can't wait to see like how it comes to life. And like that, a lot of that's going to happen when you use it. And you have a lot of writing space there, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. T says, wait till you get your stamps out. Yeah,
exactly.
See, card makers, paper crafters, like bring your card making supplies to the party. This is this is everybody can join in on this party. We have a question before you flip through yours. Can you talk a little bit more about the faux tea dyed for Amy in the chat?
Hey Amy, we just use I used watercolor. Len used like a walnut ink. But basically these pages that you see in our journals are not tea dye or coffee dyed paper, but instead we just made them here on our desk with watercolor or whatever we had. You could also use like your distress inks and water them down. That would be a great choice. You could use sprays. You could use like the Lindy's kind of like pigment stuff. You can use anything, but we were just basically giving like a faux tea dye to papers. Because I knew Lynn didn't have like a stack of tea dyed paper in her stash. And
Do you
again,
just have like a bunch ready to go for you at all
yes,
times?
dear. I have like, I do like hundreds of sheets at a time, and then I don't have to do it for a while.
Oh,
But I'll take like a
dang.
Saturday and just spend a couple of hours tea dyeing paper.
Do you like hang them to dry or?
Recently I've been baking them in the oven. But I
Oh,
also have a rack, but the rack is in the attic. So I've decided that baking them in the oven is easier.
oh, interesting. How fun.
All right. So I'll do a quick flip through of mine. I used a paper pad. Let's see. What do I have? I don't know what it's called. What is it called? It's called Jingle All the Way from Echo Park. And I also used these new to me thrift store Christmas cards and then our faux tea dyed paper. I don't have a pocket in my front. I usually do, but I could definitely put like, not this piece, but I'd have to find, I could put like a cut apart and put something up there. And I definitely will before it's done. Mine's not done either, Len. And then I have like the Christmas cards, the faux tea dyed paper, and then patterned paper throughout, as well as like envelope. And yeah, so I'm just all the cut aparts that came with that kit. It's a total mixture. This envelope went a little wonky, but that's okay. I made it work. And then I just trimmed off this part. So this is actually where you put stuff in.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's a nice way of making a little pocket.
Yeah. And then another envelope with the cards inside. Flip out. Again, these could be decorated as the person goes. The tip in with this Christmas card that flips up.
Love that.
And then, you know, more and more pockets. This is a double belly band. So this was a scrap and this was a scrap. And so I just made it like a double belly band. And I might have put my envelope in there a little early. It was filling a little, the glue was feeling a little juicy still, but it can be saved. But we're just going to leave that for now. So
Yeah.
let your glue dry first. If you're not doing it live, you'll probably be fine. But yeah, so this is a double belly band with the scraps. And did a little flip out here. So, you know, double-sided paper helps fill it in, I think, but you don't have to have it. I think if you want to create more of a simple writing journal, then single-sided is actually even more ideal.
Yeah, that's so cool. Oh, I love how many little tuck spots and flips and flaps you have. That's just so fun.
And they came together pretty easily just by folding our paper when we were folding our 12 by 12.
Yeah.
So that is it.
That's so cool. Very awesome. So, couple of questions. I don't know if you want to hang out still to answer them, but
yeah, I'm cool.
Okay. So Amy was wondering about the tea dyed papers going brittle.
Yeah, if they get over baked, I've noticed that they most definitely can. If you leave them in the oven, if that's how you're drying them, then yes. I don't have that problem with air drying my papers, but with baking them, most certainly.
Okay. What does it mean, like brittle beyond just, because I like that sound.
Yeah, no, I think that they can get like actually like burnt, and then that compromises
like actually like
integrity
kind
of
of
the
crumbly
paper.
almost.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure that that's the problem that she's having, but that is something that I noticed. Like I forgot to set a timer and walked
Mm.
away. And then when I came back, I was like, oh, these are like next level kind of crunchy and burnt.
Next level
Okay.
country.
So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good to know. So air drying then would be the recommended if you're not in a rush
Or
to use
setting
it
your
right away,
timer. I
or
mean,
setting a timer. Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of variables obviously on how much you're saturating your paper, what your weight of paper is, um, your temperature of your oven, and then how long you're leaving them in there. But like 200 degrees is typically what the temperature that I use.
Okay, I was gonna ask. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
good. And so Jay asked earlier how, and there were some question or some answers. So thank you, Dawn, and thank you, T, for answering. But for you, Toby, how do you do bulk tea dyeing?
Great question. I typically Okay, so I get like a ream of paper because, like I said, I'll do a whole ream at a time. So I'll make a big pot. I sometimes can be put off by the smell of coffee. So I don't do a lot of coffee dye paper. I do a lot of tea dye paper. I will say that. And so make a big, really thick, lots of tea bags. I'll make a very saturated pot of tea and make sure it's warm. You'll always get better results if you're actually using like a warm liquid versus cold.
Oh,
I'll get
interesting.
a cookie. I have a cookie sheet that I use specifically for this that has a nice lip on it. And I basically will splat down a little bit of tea into the bottom of that. And then I basically just will put a sheet down, sprinkle some tea, put another sheet, sprinkle tea, and then I'll just keep going until I have like 15 or 20. And then I separate them onto drying racks and put those inside of the oven. And so I use both racks within my oven and have them on racks. So a lot of times when you see my tea dye, let me grab a couple of sheets. You'll notice that I actually have like lines, and that's from the racks that I use.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But it's like, again, not something that's going to like stress me out. So, and I just don't want it touching like the actual racks on my oven since food goes in there. So
Right.
this is just one stack. I have two or but the lines that I'm talking about, these lines here that you'll sometimes see in my tea
Oh,
dyes,
that's neat.
that is using like Brusho.
Oh, how
So I
fun.
want to make some like mermaid journals, and so I wanted some blue paper, so I used my Brusho on those.
Oh, how cool.
I have, look at these. I don't want to, I'm sorry, you guys. It's like hours later, but like this marbleized look
Oh,
is
that's
so
gorgeous.
giving. Here's a good piece of it.
Yeah.
This is definitely something I've thought about scanning. So, I got a
Yeah,
really good marble on
exactly.
these
Scan it and then you can print it and use it over and over
over and
again.
over again. Yeah, so they're really unique pieces. I do that, but yeah.
This is a good question from Amy, and I think I'll answer this first, but then I would love for you to also answer as well. And you
Okay.
might have something different. You might have a different answer. But Amy asks, do you worry about putting photos in something that isn't photo safe? And generally, I would say from my perspective, yes, if you don't want your photos to yellow, which, some people are totally fine with that. So in general, you do want to work with all of your materials, from your papers to your adhesives to whatever's. You want that to be acid free and archival safe if you want to preserve the photo to look the way that it did originally. And so if using stuff like coffees and teas, which do have a different pH, you couldn't, and that's sort of why I used walnut ink, because
Mm-hmm.
it is acid free and archival, and it's based off of the actual walnut shells, and It's I would recommend definitely getting the crystallized form because, well, then it comes in a lot of different, ways. You can get it already diluted like I have it, and then just further dilute it. But at least this way, those crystals are like compact. And then if you are gonna do like a batch, like on the scale of, Bitty Penny, then you can just dissolve as much as you need, and then you can get, if you want to increase the intensity, you can add more crystals. If you want to go for a little bit lighter, more on the tea side, less on the coffee, then you can you can just change that per however much you want. So if you're using a junk journal for photo memory keeping, then I saw somebody else give a good tip of you can always scan and print it, and that way you don't damage your original, or just choose photo safe media supplies, and then that preserves them. Or some people like that look of aged, you know there is vintage photo as a color. So
Yeah, I was about to say, like, some of the products that you might be using, the inks and things, they're not necessarily archival.
yeah.
A lot of people love alcohol markers. Alcohol markers are not archival,
Yep.
and they do change and shift color over time, and so I guess my take on it is, okay, y'all saw, like, I am a low fuss person. But like, for me, it's just such a feat to actually print my photos, sit down and do memory keeping, that if I am doing it and I'm actually memory keeping at all, then that's a win. How long that lasts, I guess I can't worry about it, because like, at least I'm getting it down, so for
Yeah.
me, I probably wouldn't worry about it, but it depends on if it's like an heirloom piece, right? So
Right. Right.
I have made junk journals for heirloom quality. And when I do that, like when my niece got married, I made her a
Oh.
bridal junk journal that was for her first year of marriage, to record all the moments and stuff. And
Oh.
everything that I used in there, I made sure was archival
Yeah.
safe. Um,
So that's
so
a
I
that's
think it depends, right?
yeah, and that's the perfect answer because really a lot of really any paper crafting is just how it's intended to be used, and then personal aesthetic, because to be honest, a lot of people like that aged look.
Hmm.
It especially on an heirloom piece, it sounds kind of ironic, but like I like the nostalgia of looking at those old photos that have yellowed over time. So, 20 years from now, I think anything we do might look like an heirloom, just with wherever technology is, 20, 30, 40 years from now. But you may not mind that. So it really just depends on what you're trying to achieve, but so you have your options. So there's a question in the chat about, with regards to that, can you add, I've heard of this, but I don't know too much. So maybe, can't you add baking soda to balance the pH of the coffee or
Yes.
tea? You
Yes,
can.
I
Okay.
don't know the chemistry. I don't know the ratios, but that was another thing that I was thinking to add, is that you can actually balance the pH of those products, of coffee and tea.
Yeah.
And they're, but I just don't, that's it's a lot of science for my brain.
Yeah.
But I know there's videos out there where people have figured it out.
Yep. Yes, T says old Polaroids for the win. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Um, okay, and then there were some questions about where to get the walnut ink crystals.
I was wondering the
I
same thing.
I bought mine on Amazon. I'm almost 99% sure it's Sukaneko is the brand, but
Oh, I love
just
their stuff.
I know, right? Um, I'm almost positive, and the reason why I say that is because I dropped my sponge dauber, so now I have to use another sponge dauber. So my walnut ink, I think, was well, this is gouache, but it's pretty close to that. I'm gonna try to find some splatter. This was splatter because I just splattered like, oh, here we go. This is a bit of splatter from my walnut ink, and if I use the Sukaneko VersaFine Clair, I'll
You
just
have,
stencil.
I think
You'll
you still
see
have
it's,
me spotlighted, Lynn, if you want to change that so we can see you better.
well, I can do this too. I'll just hold it up. That way people can still see what you're doing as you continue working. So it's a really good match with their ink. So that's why I'm pretty sure it's by them. And what I'll do is I'll find it, because last minute, literally, and Biddy Penny can vouch for me, I was like, oh, wait a sec. Let's not go live.
Yes.
Just let me grab my walnut ink. And the first thing I could find was my pre-diluted one. But search for walnut ink crystals. It does come in a liquid form as well that is concentrated. That's basically the crystals that they've already dissolved. And it's really easy to just dissolve this in some warm or hot distilled water. I recommend distilled because then you don't have the I recommend distilled water anytime I'm paper crafting, because it purifies it, and it gets all of the minerals and bacteria and stuff out of it. So if you ever find that you're mixing things with just plain tap water and it's taking you a long time to use it up, it could develop like a funky smell. It's not going to really hurt anything, but if you just don't want that funky smell, use distilled water. So you can get that, and it's a little bit goes a long ways. It's so it's just, and it's dry. I love the crystals just because it's dry. It's easy to store, and you just use what you need when you need it. Oh, yeah, I think Kim already found it. $9.99 on Amazon. There you go.
Nice. Hey, that's really affordable. Because it sounds like something that's just gonna like last forever.
Absolutely. So if you're not a coffee drinker, if you're not a tea drinker, like, okay, we can still be friends. But
Yes.
you can also buy this. You can watercolor with it. You can do a lot of stuff with it. So it's just really nice for if you don't have coffee or tea on hand. And if you do have coffee and tea, like, just use old grounds. You don't have to make a fresh brew of anything. Like, the old coffee grounds will still give off color. So, just use what you have, really, folks. And so sorry for your loss, Kim. I saw that you were attending a Zoom memorial service for a friend, and so sad for you. But I'm glad that when we had my dad's memorial service, the funeral home also gave us that option of streaming it, essentially, like doing the Zoom. And so it made it possible because, he passed during COVID, and not everybody was comfortable traveling. And in any case, we were telling people don't come because we can't gather beyond a certain size anyways. So having the option to have family and friends join over Zoom was actually kind of a nice option. So I'm glad you were able to at least, be a part of his celebration of life in that way. And so sorry for your loss, but I'm glad that you were able to kind of join in with your loved ones and celebrate him.
Absolutely. I'd love to reiterate all of that. I love you, Kim. And thanks for being vulnerable to share that, and for keeping it real with us so that we can stand shoulder to shoulder with you. So blessings and condolences, sweetie.
Yeah. Oh, wow. She said 200 to 300 attended. That's
nice.
That's so
someone
awesome.
who made a difference in people's lives, I would think.
Yeah, yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like a very special person. And I want to echo your sentiment too, Toby, about just, I love that our community is so amazing. All of you crafty friends you're just, a blessing to my life. I really enjoy doing these streams and hanging out and chatting, and I love how comfortable and close we are to share and be vulnerable with our imperfections and with, the happy, things in our lives that we like to celebrate, and maybe some of the less happy things, so that we can, lift each other up. So I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I mean, the support, that our subscribers and friends show us, by coming and watching our videos and giving us their time. Um, we are here to go through the highs and lows, and our community is such a safe community. Like, the card making community is my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's my favorite. It's so unique and so special. I love the card makers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, wonderful hanging out with you today. Thank you for spending like a good chunk of your Saturday with us, Biddy Penny, and everybody in the live chat who's still hanging
Yes.
with us. I think Kim, was it Kim who walked away and she came back and she's like, "You guys are still here?"
Yes. Yes.
So
I just keep on going. I'm like,
I know her
bunny.
hands don't stop. Have you noticed, folks? I'm here like just, still and just staring mesmerized at watching Biddy Penny's journal evolve. But this has been such a blast, and so I definitely want to fill those last 3 seats, folks. If there are still 3 seats available at the what's the official name of it? I forget.
Biddy Papery Project.
There we go. The Biddy Papery Project. So at the top of the stream there were only 3 seats available. So if you are interested in traveling to the Georgetown, Texas area, or you happen to be in the area, check out, there's a link to Biddy Penny's YouTube channel. If you want to find out how to register, you can pop on over there. I'm sure she's got all of the details. I know she did a launch video announcing the workshop. So you can find that on her channel. If you follow Letty, who is Biddy Penny's, I guess, kind of neighbor. You guys are kind of close, right?
Yeah, she's my PIC. She's my partner in crafting, my partner in crime sometimes.
There you go. So Letty is party planner papery.
Uh-huh.
I have such a hard time saying that. It's a tongue twister for me. So she is also teaching at the workshop.
Yes.
And then I saw Project 39
Mini albums
is Debbie. She's the 3rd instructor. So you're getting 3 like expert paper crafters, designers who are putting on this live in-person workshop, which I'm glad that you are bringing those back. I know that we've had to take a little bit of a break from in-person events, so it's really awesome that you are hosting this. So definitely check that out and register. And thank you, my friend, for I know.
Thanks for having me. Are you ever going to have me back after this marathon of 3 hours? I hope so.
Well, I'm definitely having you back. You name the day and you're coming back anytime you want.
I'll have to have you over on my channel too. Would you like to? This is the first invitation that I'm extending. But I kind of want to play Would You Rather card making edition on my channel. Would you like to do Would You Rather card making edition with me?
Okay, yeah, I would.
Do you know the game Would You Rather? Like, would you rather ink blend or die cut kind of thing? Or would you rather do this or rather do that?
That sounds like a blast.
Let's do it. We'll have some fun.
Yeah, let's put something in the books, because for sure, I love hanging out with you, and
Ditto.
it's just, I mean, it doesn't get more fun than than crafting and chatting and hanging out with our crafty friends. So I welcome
Absolutely.
every opportunity for sure.
I am with you on that one. Thank you again to everyone in chat. I promise I'm going to come back. I'm probably going to have to take it in chunks at this point. And I'm going to catch that live feed. But thank you guys so much. Kim, big hugs and lots of love. And sunshine and rainbows to everybody out there and everyone in the replay crew too.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to the replay crew also. Thank you. I always forget all the things, and you're so good at reminding. So thanks everybody. I hope you get into junk journaling and share what you make, enjoy your crafting, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye
Yes, bye
everybody.
everyone.